Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.
What is up, my friends? Happy Thursday, everybody. Friday Eve, as we like to call it. That is the oh, look at the new setting that we're in here, Derek Gunn. What's going on?
Well, you know, we had problems with the internet from upstairs in my bedroom yesterday. And then, of course, during the show meeting at 11 o'clock this morning, we're still having the intermittent D-Gun, you're delayed scenario. So I called in Audible. I had to check with the boss first. Are you using your office? No. Can I use your office? Yes. Okay, that's all I needed to know. So I relocated downstairs to my wife's office. Normally when I use her office, I have her bookcase behind me.
Right.
I'm going to try a little bit different scenario today.
Okay, that's what threw me off. I see the baby pictures and stuff like that, but that's what threw me off. And the picture, your picture's crystal clear for what it's worth.
I know. And I checked with Tone, our producer. He said the audio's fine, the pictures. So I guess I just moved closer to the router, but I think this has something to do with 2 days of the rain, torrential rain we had. Because normally I'm teasing you about having the internet problems, and in the last 2 days has been me. So that's my granddaughter Ariana. Shortly after she's born, beautiful. She will be officially 2 years old, July 8th, and my oldest daughter, my son-in-law. After last year's party, I ain't even gonna tell you how much money they spent with moon bounces, water slides. They're doing it again. And last time I was on the Blackstone grill cooking Blackstone and cooking burgers for everybody. It was like 85 people.
Okay.
So they said, Dad, you're not doing it. You're not doing it this year. I'm like, if you want me to be on the grill, I have no problem. They have the perfect setup near the pool, big trees, shaded. I don't mind doing it. You decide. But I think they were thinking about bringing a food truck out, like a taco truck.
Nice.
Out to the compound. So I don't know what they're doing.
Okay. Hey, man. That's great. That's great. But anyway, the picture looks great. All good.
Thank you.
Big show today. We have Al Morganti coming up at 1:30. We're going to talk to Al because, Derek, not only did the Flyers make 2 picks last night, they actually just traded up for day 2 here in the draft. And they got up to the 51st overall pick in the second round, and they took a goalie named, forgive the pronunciation, Carson Bjarnason. He's the top-ranked North American goalie by NHL.com. He played for the Brandon Wheat Kings in the Western Hockey League. He's not even 18. He turns 18 tomorrow. He's a big dude, though, 6'3", $190 in goal. So he is the guy that the Flyers traded up to get. What does that mean? There's something else coming? I don't think so. It takes a while for goalies to. Yeah. Goalies don't get up as quickly as say centermen and any wings or defensemen or anything. It takes a goalie a while. So I wouldn't say that this means Carter Hart's getting traded if anybody's jumping to that conclusion.
Right. Yeah. If you go back to yesterday, and I was like just doing it based on need. I said during the show, I thought it was imperative the Flyers, with those first 2 picks at 7 and 22nd, draft a winger or a center with the first pick. You have to get a marquee franchise type player, and then you've got to get a defenseman. You've got to get and they got both in the first round. And I don't know anything about these guys except what I'm reading up on them. So that's why we bring in an Al Morganti to make us feel better about what they did. But I'm glad they went this route. You know what, Rob? And we talk about this. I know people are impatient, but I'm excited about seeing how this thing blossoms with the Flyers. They've had to replant seeds. Okay. They had to replant seeds, and now they have to let the oak tree grow. The other tree, the previous tree was dead. All right. And now you got new front office personnel that we're familiar with. You're getting rid of the old school players. Tortorella's back, but I like, again, he rubs people the wrong way, but he's considered a good teacher.
Yep.
That's what you need. If you're going to go in a youth movement in a different direction, you need somebody who can teach you to play a tougher mentally and physically style of hockey. I like the direction they're going in. Even if they finish last in the league this upcoming season, if we see progress, I'm all on board with this.
I'm the same way you are. I'm definitely in patience mode. Like I don't care what the win-loss is. I really don't about this team. I feel like at least now they're doing it the right way. They're not doing the patchwork stuff that it felt like the last couple of years. So
Right.
they take a centerman with the number 7 pick overall last night, Matvey Michkov, Russian. The complication there is he's under contract to his Russian team for the next couple of seasons. So, but you can buy them out sometimes. So we'll see what ends up happening there. We'll bounce that off of Al. Then they took a defenseman, Oliver Bonk. If the last name Bonk sounds familiar, his father was Radek Bonk, who played a long time in the NHL. And then, of course, they grabbed the goalie. So they're the 3 guys that the Flyers have taken thus far. We'll update you as things go here, Derek. Beyond that, Phillies win last night, 8-5 over the Cubs. And worst case scenario, even with a loss tonight, they ensure themselves of a series win, which is big. And you get Taijuan Walker going tonight, who's pitched very well for them of late. So that's good. They're 42-37 on the season. And it was nice to see, the bats picked up Aaron Noel, who didn't pitch necessarily great, but Castellanos was really good again. Bohm, guys at the bottom of the order. Josh Harrison got a chance last night. Pache, all those guys really delivered. That group was 6 for 16 for them. So that's a good thing. NBA free agency is tomorrow. A deadline is tomorrow at 6. You have to either opt in or opt out, and then it kicks off in earnest there. That's when we start seeing deals at like 6 o'clock and 30 seconds. Somehow they get done without tampering. I don't know how.
It's kind of like the NFL. It's the NFL free agency. All of a sudden, at 12:01 a.m., these deals are finalized. Really?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. A miracle. Most times you can't get a deal done in 3 months.
Right.
The top name free agents are signed at 12:01, 12:02 a.m. They come rolling in.
Yeah, quite a coincidence. So beyond that, I wanted to pass this along too, Derek, because we've been hearing reports that the NFL is going to release all the names of the guys who are getting suspended. They said a handful of guys for gambling sanctions. So we know at least one of the names now. It is Titans right tackle Nicholas Petit Ferrer. He has been suspended 6 games for gambling on non-NFL sports at the team facility. This is according to Adam Schefter. And he put out a statement, so it's legit. Quote, "The betting I engaged in was not NFL related and was legal under Tennessee law. It is only being sanctioned because it occurred at the Titans facility. I want to apologize to my family, coaches, teammates, Titans fans. I have always strived in every stage of my life to follow the rules. I did not knowingly break the rules. Even after attending a league presentation, I was unaware of the specifics around placing bets from the facility." You get the rest. It feels like there's a lot of this, Derek. Now, the guy with the Colts is different because he allegedly bet on football and the Colts. I put him in a different category than some of these other guys. Maybe I'm trying to be a little bit forgiving here. Maybe they just weren't paying attention enough when they were being talked to about this stuff. I don't know, but it feels like that's what a lot of this is going to be. Betting on, I don't know, a basketball game when you finished practice that day or something like that is what it kind of my sense is.
Or maybe teams individually did not emphasize it enough.
Yep.
If you listen to Dan Campbell, he said, we talked about it last year, but we will make sure it hits home this year. So I think when coaches sit down and talk about the do's and don'ts with players, because their minds are spinning, let's get to practice. They go down the list of things. Okay, don't do this, don't be here, don't do that. All right, let's go break and go to practice.
Right.
They don't emphasize these things. But now that the NFL league office is coming down hard on players and emphasizing, we don't want our players gambling, even though you have a team in the gambling capital of the United States. Now it's going to be hit home a lot harder because who knows? I bet you, Calvin Ridley got caught, but I bet you there's a bunch of players that have been gambling throughout the years, whether doing it through a friend or anonymous, name, stuff like that. Now the league is going to be looking more closely at this stuff, and rightfully so. I get it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, on a brighter news here. So Jason Kelsey and his teammates raised over $150,000 with all the stuff that he did down the shore yesterday for his team 62. for Eagles Autism Foundation. So over 150 grand made yesterday in Sea Isle City. So kudos to Jason Kelsey. Very cool, man. Great work out of them.
And kudos to all the people and organizations that chipped in and donated to help get that number up to 150,000. You know, the Eagles have been so consistently behind the autism challenge, and they've raised so much money for it. You know, kudos to the organization. I'm not surprised. That's a big part of what Jeffrey Lurie does and who he is in terms of making sure that they are visible in the community as well. We're not just a team here taking your money. We want you to understand that we're also trying to help certain causes in this area. And they back a lot of different causes we don't even know about across the state and the region. You know, so, you know, 150,000, kudos to everybody who chipped in. And of course, Jason and his brother, Travis out there with among the masses. I'm curious. I haven't seen any video. I wanted to see how Travis would be received by the Eagles faithful out there.
I heard a little bit. So he was, I didn't hear much. When Jason first came on WIP's morning show yesterday, I heard Travis with him, and it was a lot of love. Like, and he was like, he played it right. He was like, basically, man, look at these folks. Yeah. I want to say sucked up. He pandered a little bit. Which is smart.
He was smart.
And he got the fans going on his side. So it made sense. So it was a smart way to go for him, I would say.
The best bulletproof vest that he has coming into Philadelphia, where people are still licking the wounds from how that Super Bowl game played out.
Yeah.
Is having his brother being a member of a highly respected member of the Philadelphia Eagles. He had the best bulletproof vest ever to walk into this scenario, number one. Number two, you know, unless you've heard otherwise, from what I've seen of him and on videos and interviews, he's such a likable guy.
He is.
How can you not like the dude? You know?
I agree. I think you're right about that. He is. You're right. It's not. Yeah. I look, and I just think that setting lends itself to just everybody being happy. And you're right. Kudos to all the fans who showed up and contributed. Very cool. Very cool. It's good stuff, man. And there's not enough of that we talk about, you know, what's being done out there for charities and whatnot, and how much good work these players and organizations do. So awesome stuff right there. That's for sure. We had a perfect game last night in Major League Baseball. Domingo Germán pitched a perfect game for the Yankees, the fourth one in their history, first one in Major League Baseball, Derek, since 2012. So we haven't seen a perfecto in a while here, but we got one yesterday, last night, in fact.
You know, I'm surprised that when you consider the history of the mighty Yankees and how many World Series they've done and how many stellar teams they've done that they've had, I'm surprised they've only had 4 perfect games in the history of that organization. To be honest with you,
right?
Think about the volume of Hall of Fame pitchers that have come through that organization. I'm a little surprised. I mean, you know what? A perfect game is a perfect game. It's so hard to acquire a perfect game. So kudos to them. But I'm just shocked that the Yankees haven't had more.
Yeah, the history of that organization for sure. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Fitness Rebel says they raised way more than that. That's what they raised before before the evening and everything else it concurred. So thank you, Fitness Rebel. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll pass it along if we get the exact number, if the Eagles post that and put that out. So good stuff there. And by the way, what's up, everybody? Hi, Fitness Rebel. Hi, Fly Parks. GG. What's up, Dank? What's up, Sodo Peking? What is I always try not to mispronounce here. Mr. Taz, how we doing? And anybody I missed, I apologize. Twiz, what's up? Hope you guys are doing great. We appreciate you hanging out always. I had a question for you, Derek. Oh, by the way, we're back into these wildfires. The Canadian wildfires, are still raging, unfortunately. And I don't know about you, but man, I walked out this morning and I'm like, here we go again. You look at the sky today in our area.
Yeah.
Eesh, not great.
I know. I don't need, as much as I love summer rain, I'm done. My grass is a mess. My guy who cuts the grass didn't get out here last week, obviously, because of the rain and the ground was so soft.
Yeah.
So I just text him because we have the 2 younger grandkids, little Ariana and her brother, will be coming here this evening to spend the night, which means I got to wrestle with the 10-month-old.
Yep, which means no sleep for you. Yep.
No sleep for me. And so as soon as she walks in the door, Ariana, who'll be 2 on July 8th, I want to go swing. And so I got to get her out to the swing and the trampoline out there. You got to wade through this grass in the backyard, this mini jungle. So my guy who cuts it normally, he's not going to cut it until tomorrow. So he's waiting for the ground to dry up. And I'm looking outside and I'm thinking, we might get more rain today.
I know. Yeah. I don't know. I cut the lawn yesterday. I made sure I snuck it in while it wasn't raining. And it was a jungle, man. I haven't cut it in a while, so it was necessary. I'm looking. I think we're all right, rain wise. It does look a little overcast, but I think we're going to be okay. At least in our area. Who knows? Who knows at this point, man? We're in some weird times. But beyond that, so I was on Birds 365 today with John McMullen. Had fun hanging out with John and our crew. Question I have for you, because this came up in the course of our conversation, just organically, but I want to pose it to you. And I don't mean Eagles Hall of Fame, because that's a lock. But is Lane Johnson a pro football Hall of Famer?
Yes. Yes.
See, John seems to think he isn't. Wrongly that he won't be. In other words, John's point was he should be, but he won't be. And here's why. And I don't necessarily disagree with John. I think Lane's a Hall of Famer too.
Okay.
I think he's the best tackle in football. Here's the problem, Derek. I started looking up his stats. You know, he's only a 2-time first-team All-Pro, 17 and 18. He's a second-team All-Pro in 21. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler.
Okay.
First of all, that's ridiculous. That he wasn't. I don't think he was recognized properly early enough in his career for how good he is. So I think that hurts him. The other point that I made, where I don't think he gets hurt by this,
right?
I don't think the PED suspensions in football mean squat like they do in baseball. In baseball, it's a huge deal.
Yes,
we know this. Bonds, Clemens, etc. If you had that stink on you, then you may never get in, even though you were one of the best that's ever, played your sport. With football, we just look at it and say, all right, he's out for 4 games. Yeah. How quickly can we get him back in and up and running? It's looked at differently. But I think the early part of his career, maybe he didn't get the love that he should have got.
There have been Hall of Fame offensive linemen who've made 3-4 Pro Bowls, but that was a different era, compared to the way they rate and grade offensive linemen nowadays. But I do think, just taking into consideration 2 seasons has not allowed a sack.
Yep.
How many offensive linemen can you say that about?
I know.
That in itself. Look at his longevity at the right. He is arguably not just the best right tackle in the game, but the best offensive lineman in the game over the past couple of seasons. If he comes close to that again this year, it only enhances his credibility and his argument to be a Hall of Famer. I think he is. Now, I love John's perspective of it. Now, as I think about it, maybe he won't get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer when you consider how many guys have been passed over in the past who are still on the list who get in on their second, third, or fourth try of the Hall of Fame. So he may get pushed back. But I do think eventually, if he fulfills his wish of playing a minimum, he said 3 more years, he's told us.
Yep.
If he plays 2 more years at this level, I think it's a given that he's going to get in. But again, let me emphasize, I don't know if it will be a first ballot because of other people he's stacked up against, not just first ballot Hall of Famers when he's eligible, but because of the volume of high-profile former players who have also been waiting in the wings for years to get in as well. So he might get bumped back a year or 2 because of that.
Well, I think the other thing that hurts him, is I don't think it's still this way, but it used to be it was just 2 tackles that were taken as on the first team, all pro. It wasn't left tackle, right tackle. It was just boom, boom tackles. So there's always the stigma that the right tackle is the lesser tackle, because most of the time the left tackle is protecting the quarterback's blind side, right? And they didn't value the right tackle as much.
Right.
Lane's always played the right side.
Right.
So what they did for years was Walter Jones, or take your pick of great left tackles that we've had over the years. They would take the top 2 left tackles a lot of times and just, then the afterthought would be the right tackle. So I think maybe that falls into it sometimes too. Well, I mean, look, it is remarkable. I think Kelsey's a lock. I think Lane should get in. I don't know that he will, but I mean, the fact that we're sitting here and you can even throw Jason Peters in there. You on that Super Bowl team, Derek, potentially had 3 Hall of Famers on that offensive line, left tackle, right tackle, and center. That's crazy, right?
No question about it. Now I'm trying to see if I can find it right now. Okay, it's under offensive lineman. I was trying to see how many right tackles are in the Hall of Fame as we speak right now. So they put it under, it says, they break it down by position. There have been 24 running backs in the Hall of Fame, 26 quarterbacks, 7 ends, they call them ends, flankers back then, 29 wide receivers, 9 tight ends, and offensive linemen, there is 48. Now, in terms of people who are considered just tackles out of that number, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18 tackles. Now, there are other ones that are just listed as offensive linemen and a few that are listed as tackle guards. But 18 true tackles have made the Hall of Fame as we sit here right now. Is there a better right tackle in the game today?
No.
Has there been a better right tackle in the game over the last 3 years, 4 years?
I don't know that there has been over the last 8 years.
Exactly.
Well,
with that said, like I said, if he continues his body of work and plays at the level he is right now, there's no question he should be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Somewhere down the road in his post-football career, he should get inducted.
Look, I agree. 4th overall, great pick in 2013. It's an interesting case study and a guy that just sort of outgrew a position. Yep. He starts off as a quarterback, and then he's a tight end, and then he's an offensive lineman. I mean, the thing he always had was that athleticism, that crazy athleticism. But it was just a matter of learning, and learning the craft. And good on the Eagles for seeing what he was going to project into. I mean, that's and they took him high enough that they believed in him. That's for sure.
Well, the year he came out, he was 4th overall, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
4th overall, 2013. Okay. Correct. Yep.
Okay. And they plugged him right in. I mean, they knew what they had right away. They plugged him right in and got him going. And then, of course, when you're a student at Stoutland University, you have no excuse for not getting better every year.
That's right. He landed in a very good spot with a very good coach. That helped.
There's no question about it. And obviously it has paid off. And the fact, I would think along the way, you don't have to, but I think the decision makers should take into consideration what he has overcome in terms of mental health to be what he has been.
Yeah.
The model of consistency at that position. To fight that battle and win when so many athletes have fallen by the wayside, when they've dealt with depression and anxiety and things like that, he is still fighting through that battle and winning.
Yeah.
Both in life and the football field.
I give him a lot of props too, because he's very vocal about it. And he's always on social media, he'll throw things out there, suggestions, tips, way to handle everyday life stuff that you have to deal with. He's always looking to help people with that. Sills makes an interesting point. He says the 2017 line is better than the Cowboys O-line with Emmett. He said 4 of the 5 guys on that line were in Dallas under Landry. The Eagles line is the best since Shell and Upshaw, guys we talked about yesterday with the Raiders. That's heavy praise, man. You're talking about Larry Allen and Eric Williams and Stepnoski and that crew. But if you think about it, Lane Johnson and Peters at your tackles, Kelsey, I think 2 out of 3 are locks, maybe all 3 get in the Hall of Fame. And you were good at the guard. Wisniewski came in and did a nice job after some upheaval there at the guard spot. And you had, was it Sayamalu at that point, or was it who was the other guard? I think it was Sayamalu, wasn't it?
Vaitai? No,
Vaitai played tackle when Peters went down.
I believe it had to be Sayamalu then.
Yeah, but regardless, I mean, that's you talk about a pretty strong offense. Like the one they have now.
Well, I don't disagree with Sills because he played in the trench warfare and he studies that on both sides of the ball. Very like Barrett does, studies the trench warfare on both sides of the ball. But I would say that Dallas Cowboys line back in their heyday of winning the Super Bowl, that offensive line was rock solid. I mean, obviously you can't do a fair comparison. It's based on opinion, but that offensive line, when you talk about Nate Newton and all those guys they had on that offensive line was a monster.
Yeah.
You know,
they were good, man. They were good.
You're right. This offensive line the Eagles has put together, and you look at how many, at least once every other year, one piece leaves, they plug in somebody else. Another piece leaves, they plug in somebody else. A former first-round pick didn't work out, but they draft a rugby player, turn him into a Pro Bowler, and pay him handsomely. I mean, this organization has been stellar when it comes to offensive linemen. You know, whether it's the first round, third, or fourth round as a backup, and you know, look at I think Opeta could start for a lot of teams. If the Eagles decided to let him go, I think he can move into a starting role somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Driscoll could move into a starting guard position somewhere. It just doesn't happen here because of the depth and the volume of quality personnel they have positioned here.
I hear you. All right, good stuff. Good discussion there. So what we'll do is we'll get a timeout here, and we keep the Eagles rolling. We keep it rolling here when we come back. I'll give you a little update on Nakobe Dean, what he's been up to in the offseason. We're going to talk about some Eagles that are under the radar, and I got some great stats for you, which I'll share from Jalen Hurts in the pocket, 2021 versus 2022. Okay, we'll do all that when we come back. Again, Al Morgani at 1:30 is going to talk about the Flyers moves. They've been making picks as we speak as well, so we'll update you on all that kind of stuff. Don't go anywhere. He's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Yes, Bravo Pizza of Havertown. If you're hungry right now, I know I am, that would be the best place to go. Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Best in the business, family owned since 1985. Alex and the crew, they're there 7 days a week, and everything is fresh. Flown in from Italy is the flour, in fact. They get 20 different styles of pizza daily. They have slices to go. They have the you name it, we'll make it. That's right, specialized pizza your way. But not up for pizza? All right, fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. They have it all. They absolutely have it all. Bravo Pizza is also committed to the community. They give back. They have fundraisers for charities, for schools, for little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them on Instagram and Facebook at the Bravo Pizza of Havertown for all the specials and promotions. Just go to 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. That's 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. Give them a call right now, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. That's Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left. Fake 'em out. Mama, go up,
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
We're back. Yes, we are. Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. He's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. Al Morgani coming up at 1:30. Hey, Tone, let's throw the email address up there if we could to let the folks know that they can always fire an email our way. It's sportstakejacob@gmail.com. We're just trying, look, we have the chat, but we're always trying to give you other ways to connect with us and connect with the show. So anything you want to share, show content wise, what you like, what you don't like, pictures, all that good stuff, we will do all of those things. So send them our way. We appreciate it. Welcome back in, everybody. So a couple things I wanted to hit you with here, Derek. One, and you sent this my way, or our way, Tone and I, a little bit earlier. Nakobe Dean back in school, finishing up his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering.
Jeez.
Woo! Okay. But everything you heard about him as a player and a student was this dude is extremely bright. So I don't know that they're going to be all that worried about him being able to digest everything on a football field if he's a mechanical engineer. I'm sure he'll do all right, getting all the plays down and whatnot.
Yeah, as the story goes, soon as the season was over, he got right back in school in Georgia. I believe he's 26 credits shy of 26 credits shy of getting on his degree.
Yeah.
First of all, mechanical engineering, that young man is set, whether it's football or life after football, that young man is set, his future's set.
Yeah.
You get a degree in mechanical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many options out there for you in today's world with a degree like that.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you how focused he is on not just being a professional athlete, but being qualified to do other things in life. And hopefully somewhere along the line, he can be an inspiration to other guys in his locker room and other guys around the league, other guys coming up from Georgia. I'm sure Georgia eventually is going to have him go back and speak periodically and talk to players about the importance of education. Don't put all your eggs in a basket thinking you're going to be a professional athlete for 10, 12 years. Kudos to him, man.
Yeah.
You know, he's the kind of player you would love to sit down and talk to about not just football, but about life in general.
Yep.
You know, what motivates you? I'd like to know what, obviously he had to be a great student in high school and college. If you're only 26 credits away from being mechanical engineer, obviously you're an outstanding student.
Well, think about it. You have a full-time job being a football player, and you're also taking on that kind of course load, that curriculum to be a mechanical engineer. It tells you a lot about that young man. What kind of person he is, his intelligence level, his priorities, the discipline that takes. So awesome. All right, Derek, we got a few more spilling in here on the suspensions from the NFL. These are a little more serious. So Colts Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry, free agent Demetrius Taylor have been suspended indefinitely through at least 2023 for betting on NFL games.
That's a year at least.
This is different than the Titans offensive lineman. This is betting on NFL games done for at least this year, maybe longer for those three. Man, oh man. Oof.
Hey, and those are just the ones who got caught. I bet there's a whole bunch more that are scrambling right now trying to cover their tracks.
Yep.
Whether it's through an anonymous site, whether it's through a friend. Hey, we got to get this stuff deleted, whatever the case may be. I bet you there's a whole lot more players who are in situations like that right now. They're just breathing a sigh of relief, or they're sitting on the edge of their chairs wondering, man, did I cover my tracks to the point that I can't be tracked down? Because once the NFL gets an investigation team going, dude, they don't leave anything unturned.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody is going to get the best of the best when it comes to investigators for anything, it's the NFL.
Yep.
And so I know a lot of players got to be sweating bullets right now.
Yeah, the three Colts guys, well, actually one's a free agent. So it's Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry, they're both of the Colts. Demetrius Taylor was a Colt. He's a free agent. They can petition to get back into the league after the conclusion of this year, but they can't petition to shorten this thing. And then, Nicholas Petit Ferrer of the Titans, he's suspended for the first 6 games for non-NFL sports betting. So that's the distinction, that he was betting on something else from the facility. So
now
that's what we know thus far.
Our producer Tone chimes in and says these suspension penalties are way too harsh. NFL has zero consistency. Can we get Tone on the camera for a few minutes? I want him to expound on this a bit, and I want to get a different perspective. Can we pop up?
Yeah, we'll get him up. He's going to be up in a second.
That's a valid point, but I'd like to discuss that point for a little bit, because I would say we don't know to what degree the NFL has tried to browbeat players when it comes to gambling. Has the NFL told teams you have to emphasize this? We just said, Dan Campbell said, hey, last year we talked about it, but this year we're going to drive it home. To me, that's telling me, okay, it's just one of many things on a list that we just glossed over to get ready for football practice. So tell me, why do you think the penalty is too harsh?
In my humble opinion, I mean, I understand when it comes to gambling and betting on games, there is a bit of conflict of interest. You know what I mean? You're playing in the game. You shouldn't bet on games you played in. Totally understand their logic. But in my opinion, to suspend someone for an entire season, matter of fact, to suspend someone indefinitely for just gambling, it just seems too harsh to me. We've seen the NFL hand out lesser penalties for more egregious, for more egregious things people do off the field. I mean, I'm not going to bring up specific instances because the past is the past, but Ezekiel Elliott, I'm actually about to do what I said I was going to do, but Ezekiel Elliott, not too long ago, a few years back, I think he was suspended for half the season or 6 games or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he got caught up in a whole domestic situation. So I just don't believe, if you didn't harm anybody, if you didn't do anything, in my opinion, egregious, like hitting someone with your car, or putting your hands on a woman, or children, whatever it is, or I just believe there are 2 things that the NFL just take way too seriously, and that's the gambling and the marijuana usage. I have my own opinions about pharmaceuticals, all that kind of stuff. That's not what we're going to get into, but I just believe the NFL is inconsistent, and I just believe to suspend someone indefinitely for something that's still relatively new, right? Sports betting is still relatively new. The rules are being ironed out, but I just believe it's something for an entire year indefinitely. That just seems way too harsh.
But here's the problem, though. I get you with the domestic violence and stuff like that. Like that, man, I'm never going to argue that. But the problem with the gambling part of it is, I'm not talking about like the dude from the Titans, if he bet like a baseball game, whatever, Right. But I'm saying if you bet on NFL games, even if it's to bet on your team to win, or you bet a game you had nothing to do with. If you were on the Packers and you bet a Colts and Titans game, whatever. Here's the problem: you can get inside information. You can. There's a lot of stuff that goes along with this. You might try to influence your buddy. Hey, dude, I bet blah 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 on you. Let's go. There might be things that are compromised. It's sort of like the argument with Pete Rose. Like Pete Rose bet on the Reds, right, way back in the day when he was a manager, and everybody was up in arms saying, "Who cares? You bet on the Reds." The problem is with that, you might use your closer on a 5th straight night and ruin the guy's arm because you got to get that game. And whereas you're not looking out for the big picture. You know what I mean? Like there could be stuff that compromises the integrity of the game. Do I think the NFL is hypocritical on a lot of stuff? Yes, totally. Yeah. But I think that's the problem with the betting on NFL games, and why they also have to like make examples of guys, frankly, because it's so early in this. You know, it is like when you're trying to enforce a rule and they're going to go overboard with defensive holding or something like that. They're doing this and they're making examples of these guys with this too.
So to your point, do you see the penalties, I guess, becoming lesser as this thing grows? Because, you know, again, I just don't believe in okay, you suspend him for the whole season. Fine. I think the Calvin Ridley suspension was way too heavy-handed.
Right.
But I also believe he was the first.
Yes.
The first, right? But I just don't believe suspending someone indefinitely, meaning there's no timetable on your return.
Right.
Indefinitely, that's too much.
I think they're trying to scare guys, Tone.
That's a lot.
And whether it's fair or not, because you're the first one through the door.
Right.
But I think that's what they're trying to do. I think their hope is we're going to go heavy, and then these guys will finally. I think they're trying to send a message to the players and the teams. Like I think what Derek just said. Dan Campbell's like, dude, we're not playing anymore. Like these guys better know like what's up. And I don't think you're going to see this going forward. I don't.
You know what I think? We're really quick, D-Gun.
Here's my biggest problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Players don't listen. And I talked to Rob about this yesterday. For years, the NFL every year has these rookie symposiums, usually out in California. Okay. They bring in current and former players who have stepped on the dark side of right and wrong.
Right.
To try to get these guys to understand you have to eliminate certain people in your life that can put you in bad situations. You're not just an athlete. You're a businessman working for one of the most powerful corporations on the planet. You are an employee of a corporation. We have to stop just looking at athletes as athletes. They're businessmen also. Just like we are businessmen working for corporations, working for companies. Yeah. We have guidelines we have to abide by, or you're going to be on the outside looking in. Think about the volume of people just in our industry that we see up and down Twitter year in and year out that lose jobs because of things they've said on camera. Okay, so that's on you. And yet every year we have players getting busted for DUIs, players getting involved in domestic violence, players fights in nightclubs and brawls, players hanging out with the wrong people. John Morant, prime example. Okay.
I mean, the example I used with Ja was the dude who's in all these videos with him. Nothing's happened to that guy. Nobody cares.
No.
Exactly. Yeah.
No.
But with Ja, it's different. And Derek's right. And the old example I always use is, you know, your company may say you have to wear a blue shirt. You might hate wearing blue shirts. Well, if you don't like wearing a blue shirt, don't work for the company.
Right. Right.
You know?
And really quickly, like, just to clarify, I don't want it to make it seem as if I'm saying don't suspend the guys at all. Right. Yeah. I believe there should be a penalty. Right. There should be a penalty for the player.
Yeah.
And also to incentivize these teams to make sure they're drilling these guys properly when it comes to the rules and regulations of betting.
Yeah.
I would take it as far as, okay, if your team continues to have guys that are, for example, the Lions and the Colts have way too many guys falling into this trap, right?
Yeah.
You know what I would do? Not just penalize the player. I would say, okay, clearly this organization isn't clearly the information that the organization is translating to these guys, it's not connecting, right? So you know what I start doing? Okay, you're losing draft picks now.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Agree with it. Yeah,
like,
I'd be fine with that.
It has to eventually start to it can't just affect the players because I understand the players have a responsibility. You work for the organization, you work for the NFL. They have rules, abide by them. It's just that simple. Yeah. If you don't like their rules, don't be in the league, right? But I also believe if there are certain teams who have repeat offenders, yep. I'm going to start penalizing that team now because clearly there's something that's not translating. Everybody can't be stupid. You know what I mean?
How about it's on the players? It's like you talking to a kid. Don't touch the cookie. Can I have no? You can't have. Don't touch the cookie. 10 minutes later, why'd you grab the cookie? I don't know. Okay, NFL player. Wait, we told you what to do and what not to do. Why'd you do it?
Well, okay, so let me jump to the other side of this, okay, where I think there's rampant hypocrisy. Daniel Snyder was allowed to operate without impunity for a really long time, until it started hurting the NFL's bottom line, till they stopped going to Washington games, till Congress started getting involved, right? Before that, Roger Goodell turned a blind eye, and in some cases, I think was complicit in covering up some stuff. Think about the Patriots thing with not to dig this all up, but with the Spygate. Somehow those tapes were destroyed.
Yeah.
Real quickly, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there is absolute, and I'm talking about from Goodell and the front office or the commissioner's office, whatever we want to call the NFL. There is definitely hypocrisy on certain things.
Well, but
without a doubt,
is it Goodell or is it Goodell being told what to do? Remember?
Well, then if that's the case, though, but Derek, as much as he's hired by the owners, he also has to look out for the best interest of the league too.
Yeah, he
not
does.
Just being the
Yeah, he does, but he's handcuffed. See, he's handcuffed because think about the volume of high-powered people who basically tell him what to do.
Yeah.
From a Jerry Jones to a Daniel Snyder to a Robert Kraft, they're all in cahoots.
Yep.
Okay, when this stuff started coming out, when Snyder allegedly, it was never proven. Daniel Snyder has enough stuff on team owners and things like this to fire back if they decide to get rid of him. Everybody's wondering, oh snap, what could these owners be doing on the side? Okay, so it works both ways. They're the corporation, and as much as we like, my goodness, is Roger Goodell worth the kind of money he's getting? Is he worth lifetime health benefits, private helicopters, private planes, all this stuff? He's worth it because his bosses say he's worth it because he's the front man. He's the guy. He's the bulletproof vest between them and the media and the general fan. He takes all the bullets. Mm-hmm. And you think he's not well versed in terms of what to say and what not to say?
Yeah.
He's
an attorney. He knows exactly what to say.
There you go. We go at him because he's the front man. He's the most visible entity in the National Football League in terms of how the league is run.
Yeah.
Troy Vincent is right there with him. You hardly see a Troy Vincent come out. See, you don't see the subordinates under Roger Goodell come out. When stuff needs to be issued, who comes out? Roger Goodell. I guarantee you, he's been on a conference call talking to all these owners. Hey, you say this, but don't say this. If I'm Roger Goodell, I'm like, I got 32 different people telling me what to say, how to approach this. And he's got to formulate the game plan to make it sound as professional and presentable as possible.
Yeah, I hear you.
Really quickly, what's interesting, right? Especially with the betting, you notice that, again, like I said before, it's typically the same organizations, the same teams, right? You don't hear it from the Eagles, right?
No,
you don't hear it from the Chiefs. You don't hear it from the cream of the crop organizations in the NFL. You don't hear it from teams who are, I guess you'll say, conference or Super Bowl contenders. You don't really hear it from those kind of teams.
No.
It's always the organizations or the teams who are on the bottom or on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Now that begs the question: what are these organizations that are more successful doing or telling their players that the lesser organizations aren't
I think
doing?
it's attention to detail. It's why
attention to detail, and that's why I feel like organizations deserve more, not none, but a little more of the disciplinary action held against them as well. I understand players, you have to be self-accountable. I'm real big on self-accountability, even for myself. But I also believe if I'm not being educated properly from someone who's supposed to know more than me, then at that point, is it solely just on me?
Well, here's where I think it starts to come, Tone. Let's say we continue to see these same patterns with the Colts. I'll just use them as an example.
Okay.
Then it's like something's amiss here in the whole building. Clearly, they're not emphasizing this. This is not a big enough point of emphasis. So guess what? Now you're going to start to get it. Irsay's going to start to get it. We're taking your 5th round pick in 2024, whatever. That's where I think it starts to happen. You're right. Right now, it's all the players on the front line. But I think if you see tendencies here with certain
teams, that's all I'm talking about, just tendencies.
Then, it starts to change. Then I think it starts to go above. It goes higher up than the players.
We've got some great comments.
Yeah, awesome. I love it.
Big Sills. So Deshaun Watson gets 8 games for being accused of sexual misconduct, and you get a year for betting on games. Valid argument. Let's see. Conduct rules have been approved by the Players Association. NFL players need to man up and actually help each other out. I think they do that in terms of getting guys like, former players to try to hammer home some of these issues in these young players. Some players, you just can't tell them anything because their entire lives have been shielded from the law. from high school to college and to the pros.
And that's where your vets come in. That's where your vets come in. I feel like every team doesn't have good vets. You know what I'm saying? Like the Eagles have tremendous veterans. Kelsey, Graham, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick.
That's where
Lane
culture
Johnson,
helps.
right? Culture is such a big deal. That's one of the reasons why the Bears didn't take Jalen Carter, because they don't have the culture to sustain a guy like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's so many variables that go along with it. But again, guys deserve to deal with the penalty that's laid out in front of them as is. But I just disagree on the brevity or the intensity of some.
I think the other problem
that's about it.
It's a super slippery slope, because you got a team in Vegas now. You're constantly seeing, the ads. I'm not going to name the places, but you guys know. And look, I represent one, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't. So I think that's the problem too. I think a lot of players would say, their retort would be, you're asking me not to do this, yet you're promoting this stuff left and right. So it's very gray. It's not black and white, man. It is. It's everything's kind of blending into one another, and it's tough. But I just think if you're a player now, it's sort of like with what's on a banned substance. Like they'll come in and they'll tell you, hey, you can't do this, can't do that. And by the way, before you put it in your body, here's the 800 number that you call. Oh, can I take, Joe Smith's, whatever. That's the other part. You got to say to yourself, whoa, hold up. They should give them, like a hotline or something. I don't know. There should be something like that where you can go to your checklist and be like, oh, right. I can't do this even in the team hotel. Like I can't even do it there.
I will say this. The NFL has had a hotline for players for a number of years now, because there was a while it was an epidemic. Amount of players were getting suspended for 1 or 2 games.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
I didn't know we weren't supposed to take that. All of a sudden, you get a hotline. Players still step out of the guidelines and think they can get by. Yeah. And of course, they get caught eventually. Twiz brings up a good point, and I'm never going to say his full name because I'll screw it up. He says, how long would Mahomes or Burrow get if they gambled down an indefinite suspension? And I think that's part of the problem too, because they make these long-term examples of lesser-known players. But when you're talking about the face of the organizations, what kind of suspensions would they get? Now, before Goodell came out and said, this is it, we're coming down hard on this, these are the guidelines, period, in hindsight of Calvin Ridley, I would say if you talk about a Mahomes or a Burrow, they probably would have got a lesser suspension. But I think now, across the board, everybody's going to get hit the same way.
Deacon, I'm so glad you said that, because
the commissioner has come out and basically said, we have 6 rules you have to follow now. And I think before that, it would have been based on the individual case. And I think bigger names get lesser suspensions.
I'm so glad you said that. Really quickly, and I'll let you guys go on with the show. I don't want to monopolize you guys. You guys wind me up, and I'll get going.
Appreciate the info.
But you said something really interesting, right?
Rob gets started talking to me every day.
The bigger the name, the lesser the penalty.
Absolutely.
It's so funny. I think about a guy like Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers is literally at a conference.
Yes.
For psychedelics.
Not even weed.
And
psychedelics.
Right. Psychedelics and drug usage, right?
Yep.
And look, to each his own. But last time I checked, certain substances are prohibited
Psychedelics
in the NFL.
They're banned. Yeah.
So I think about Josh Gordon, when he was, dealing with the weed, and he was a repeat offender, right? Yep. But he was dealing with the weed, and it was evident. But because Aaron Rodgers is who he is, right? Multi-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, easy on the eyes, it's just to me, there is clearly an inconsistency, and it clearly shows that the league favors certain guys based off of what they provide to their product.
Yeah.
And perfect example, John Morant. He only got 25 games. The NBA PA was mad about that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, he got off easily.
He should be doing backflips.
He should be doing backflips. So the NBA, the NFL, all these leagues, if you're generating them the most amount of money, if you are their cash cow, they're going to do everything they can to protect you. Just like Deshaun Watson. He only got how many games?
11.
Even though he was gone for about a year and some change, but ultimately suspended 8 games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, his situation is unique because he got 8 games, but he also was out of the league for a whole year. So it's kind of his situation is kind of dicey.
But he got paid that whole.
But he still got paid, right? Yep. So when you think about it, the NFL
$230 million guaranteed contract.
Exactly. If you're providing them the most for their product, they're going to do everything they can to make sure them rules don't work in your favor.
No doubt.
And I'll end it on that note, you guys.
All right, Tone. Good work, man. Good insight. Yeah, I think too. The other thing you look at, Derek, with this, like, not to do a whole like COVID conspiracy, but you know, it was interesting. We never saw like a big name player test positive right before a huge game or a playoff game.
No.
You know, it was interesting the way that worked too. So yeah, I think look, there's a lot going on behind the scenes for sure. For sure, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So, you know, it is definitely, I think, to some degree hypocritical. But I don't want to just let the players off the hook. Like if they were sat down and told you can't do X, Y, and Z, and you're doing X or Y, then dude, you know, come on, man, it's on you too. You're an adult. We're not like, you know, I know you made the children comp and it was a great one, but we aren't dealing with little babies. You're an adult who has a lot at stake here and a lot of money on the line and a short career. So be sure. You know, I hope the bets were worth it.
I mean, go back to what we were talking about for Aaron Rodgers for a moment. He openly admits he goes into the Netherlands and he does this hallucinogen. Yeah. And what did the league come out? Well, it's not on a list of banned substances.
Yeah.
Why not? You got the best of the best when it comes to medical experts, investigating. Well, I don't know what it does to your body. I never will. I don't do drugs. I never will. Right. But if weed, which has been an everyday recreational drug, my goodness, forever, is on your ban list, and all of a sudden you take it off, then why haven't you, and I'm sure they've done a study on this, whatever Rodgers is doing. Why was that never on a list? You had everything else on a do and don't list. How did you miss this one?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is interesting. You know, the way that whole thing has gone down and look, this is all we know right now. Who knows what happens during the regular season? And that could that change the fortune of some teams for sure. But all right, let's get a quickie in here and we'll keep rolling.
But let me say this real quick.
Eagles, yeah.
Let me say this before we go.
Yeah.
Here's my biggest concern now that this gambling stuff has really come to the forefront. And this was a part of the NFL history many, many years ago. Players have more inside information than the media ever will in terms of who's in, who's out, who's injured, who's not.
Yep.
Okay. And there were players who bet on games. We just talked about a team the other day. The offensive lineman that got suspended for owning a bar that was frequented.
Alex Karras
and Paul Hornung. They both got suspended the same year, 1968, for gambling.
Yep.
Through the 70s, through the 80s, through the 90s. Players have been gambling. My concern is, would a player actually throw a game or be in cahoots with another player who could actually throw to help make
that's
money?
what I'm talking about, Derek. That's the problem. Like with the betting on the NFL part, this is where I have like zero tolerance. The betting on the NFL part is you could call a buddy on another team and be like, dude, just if you guys get up, just don't bust it all the way, man. Like let me just cover the spread. You guys will still win, but let me just we'll kind of backdoor this thing. Like that kind of if any of that even seeps in, man, you know, everything is just screwed. That's what you can't have. Like I said, I don't care that some offensive lineman bets on a college basketball game. I don't care. I know the league doesn't want it in their facilities. Personally, I don't care. But you can't be messing around betting NFL games. Even if it's for your team to win, you can't do it.
No, you cannot. No. I mean, as a professional athlete, don't bet. If they say don't bet, don't bet.
Right.
Just don't do it.
I just don't do it. Yeah. It's not that hard. You know, and the other thing is, and this is not to justify anything, but, you know, you might have a guy who lays a bet down because he, you know, look, he's trying to get enough money to get gas. These dudes are all right. They're doing good enough financially. And again, that doesn't justify, you know, and you shouldn't bet above your means. We all know that, but good discussion though. Good discussion. Good input from the chat section too.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Tone. Good stuff out of Tone. Nice job, guys. All right, let's come back. A couple of Eagles things that we'll throw your way. I want to get to that Hurts inside the pocket stats, which I think are eye-opening. we'll do that when we get back. You guys want to keep, jumping in on the gambling thing too. We'll do that as well. So don't go anywhere. Yeah. And you can email us your thoughts also at sportstakejAKIB@gmail. So you can email us sportstakejAKIB@gmail.com. All right. That's the way you can reach us with your thoughts, with your comments. All right. Quick step away. We'll come back and we will talk a little bit more Eagles. He's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right. Knowing who to trust with your finances should be priority one. Okay. And I'm in the front of the line because it took me a while to find the right person. And I have found that right person. And it's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you might have a small business and you're trying to get your employee benefits off the ground. That is another resource that Jim can help you with. I know I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and it was the best thing I ever did financially. I can tell you that. You will be happy with him as well. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You could also email him, Murray, MURRAY.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save at Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back, everybody. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis hanging out with you. Thursday, Friday Eve, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. 1:30, about a half hour from now, Gunner, we will catch up with Al Morgani. He will give us the latest on the Flyers draft, his thoughts. How soon could we be seeing the Russian player they took with their first pick? Can they buy him out? How NHL ready is he, et cetera. We'll hit all that stuff with Al. And we have the NBA free agency deadline tomorrow as well. So some decisions to be made for James Harden and, some other names around the league. What'll happen there. So we'll dive into that also. All right, let me give you these stats. And this is courtesy of James Palmer of the NFL Network. James, who we've had on the show before, who does a great job. All right, so Jalen Hurts stats, Derek, inside the pocket, 2021 versus last season, 2022, okay? 21, completion percentage, 66.2. 2022, 72.6. So we brought that up 6%. Average completion in 21, 7.3. 2022, 8.7. Here's where you really start to see the jumps. Touchdowns. So touchdown to interception ratio in 21, 9 to 8. 9 to 8. Last year, 20 to 4. Touchdown to interception ratio. Passer rating in 2021 inside the pocket, 86.7. Last year, 111.8. He took massive leaps. For the people who will still argue and debate, oh, he's just a runner, it's just athleticism, blah, 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 he doesn't go through his reads and all that. Well, the numbers don't show that. They tell you a completely different story of a guy who improved greatly from year 2021 to year 2022.
I will say this also. The addition of A.J. Brown helped those percentages and numbers go up significantly. There's no question about that. Upgrading the passing game, the pass game ratio in particular, the addition of A.J. Brown opened up so many more things for Dallas Goedert, for Devontae Smith, so on and so forth. But you're right. Jalen put in the work. That's all we heard during the offseason. He's here. He's there. He's in the film room. He's studying with a quarterback guru on the West Coast. He put in the work to make himself that much better. Mm-hmm. And the Eagles did an incredible job. It's amazing how just one addition to the passing game enhanced those numbers. Mm-hmm. But, wow, what an addition it was in bringing an A.J. Brown in here. And I expect him to be better. I don't know how much – obviously, we don't know at this point, especially with the clientele of opponents they're playing this year, how much better those numbers and percentages you just presented will be. But I'd be shocked if they weren't at least consistent with the last year. Now, obviously, opponents have more game film on what the Eagles like to do. They're going to scheme them different week in and week out. We understand that play to play. How he responds, I expect it to be the same. Cool, calm customer in the pocket and delivering the ball on time. When you've got that kind of offensive line that gives you that extra second or two, that's a big help. When you have sure-handed pass catchers like he has, which is 3 of them, and now 4 if you want to include a DeAndre Swift in that equation, that enhances the probability as well. He is set up to continue to do nothing but excel at this position and get out from under that notion that he's a running quarterback first, because he's not.
Right. He is a complete quarterback. Of course, are there things he can get better at? No doubt. But he has become a much more complete quarterback who is not just reliant on his legs. He's not what you saw last year out of Justin Fields, where it was just taking off almost every single play. This guy was going through his progressions. He was buying time in the pocket. He was making the throws. I mean, and the other thing is, like, he's got an insatiable work ethic. Like, all that contract did was probably push him even harder. Instead of, other guys will go the other way and say, I made it, man. I'm good. I'm going to put my feet up and I'm going to go chill or whatever. Not this dude. He is just wired different. And that's what you love.
No, quite. Hey, not to get off the issue, but I'm looking at the reports on the topic we were just talking about in the previous segment. The Colts have just waived Rashad Berry and Isaiah Rodgers.
Yep. Yeah. Goodbye. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not surprised one bit.
Why? So Calvin Ridley gets suspended a year, but he's got a home.
You know why? He's better.
Because of the name.
Yeah, and he's better. Mm-hmm.
See, and that's not right. Okay, if you're gonna so basically you're saying these guys, they're not needed. We can find somebody else to replace you type players. Would you have cut Anthony Richardson? No,
they wouldn't have, Derek. They wouldn't have. But unfortunately, that's life. We'll make allowances for people who are money earners, and that's really what we're talking about here, right?
Right.
Over guys who are just borderline roster guys. It happens all over the place. Like, companies will look the other way when CEOs who make them a lot of money act like jackasses. but the guy in the mail room does the same thing. Bye-bye.
No, he's gone.
He's replaceable.
No question. Yeah.
You're
right. Life is not fair. I mean, there are a lot of executives, big high power executives. I'm stepping down for a while to get my life together. Oh, you still got a job though, making high seven figures.
Or you're getting a crazy buyout.
Oh yeah.
Or parachute or whatever.
Buying out is $2.7 million worth of stock.
Yeah, Joe Blow they're just saying, take your stuff, put it in a box and get out of here.
Not even 2 weeks severance, just get your stuff and get out. But Correct. Yet a high-ranking CEO who has over 3 million shares of stock in the company, we're going to buy you out. So you're paying them off, but you're paying them off handsomely as well to leave.
Yep.
But you're not giving the guy in the mailroom even a 2 weeks, severance check.
Yeah.
I mean, really? There's so much inconsistency in our lifestyle, man, and how we treat people, man. If you step on the wrong side of the law, everybody should be treated the same, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, granted, a high-ranking CEO, if you fire him, he's got a bank load of money to fall back on. He can sit out a year or two and recoup, and end up somebody else is going to hire him.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's working, and needs a check week to week or every 2 weeks. He's scrambling now, and the prospects of him finding a job right away that equals what he's paying,
correct,
are not always guaranteed.
No chance. Nope, no chance. It's the same way. Like we've seen it before. I'll remember when Jimmy Johnson, maybe it was his first year or his second year with the Cowboys, and there was a backup running back who fell asleep in the film room while they were going over some stuff.
Yep.
Right. Guy got cut the next day. Lawrence Taylor could show up in all states of God knows what at the Giants facility back in the day, and you ain't cutting Lawrence Taylor because Lawrence Taylor's going to go out on Sunday and get you 3 sacks. It's life. Is it fair? No, but it's the reality of it.
It's funny you should say that because what's the day? Thursday. So Tuesday, I'm channel surfing. I turned on the NFL Network, and I don't know how old this was, but it's a roundtable discussion. And at this roundtable discussion on the NFL Network, it's Lawrence Taylor, Ray Lewis, Chris Collinsworth, and Rich Eisen. And they're talking about basically Lawrence Taylor and Ray Lewis. So Chris Collinsworth chimes in back in the day when and Bill Belichick was there also. Mm-hmm. And Bill Belichick speaks up, and this is the most eloquent I've heard Bill Belichick. He's talking about when he's when he was an assistant coach under Bill Parcells.
Yep.
Okay. And he talks about how they were having a meeting, a linebacking meeting, and Lawrence Taylor wasn't there. And so they start the meeting, and so he has to report who's there, who's not to Parcells. So he goes to Parcells and he says, "Hey, Lawrence Taylor wasn't at the meeting." And so he talks to Lawrence Taylor and goes, "Why weren't you at the meeting?" And Lawrence Taylor tells him, "Man, the foursome playing in front of us was so slow." He goes, "Wait a minute, you were on a golf course?" The foursome in front of us was so slow, I couldn't get off the course. So he tells the story to Bill Parcells. "Hey, Lawrence Taylor wasn't here," and he says it's because the foursome in front of us was so slow. He said Parcells looked at him and said, "Why did you start the meeting before he got there?"
Oh my God.
Anybody else would have been cut.
Yeah. You're
Taylor.
Enable. Yeah, that's what happens. Well, think about it. Like, I know we're kind of going off all over the place here, but like it's one of the reasons why you'll see like either let's just take athletes and entertainers. It could be singers, could be actors, whatever. If they hit big at a young age, now athletes basically, think about it. Let's say you're a great athlete, you're probably dominating from the time you step on a field. So you're having your rear end kissed when you're 10 years old, 12 years old, 14, 16, 18. You can really build a monster that way.
Yeah.
And you're also, in some cases, being allowed to get away with things that others wouldn't be able to get away with.
Absolutely.
And as time goes on, the head grows and the monster grows and all this other stuff. And you can turn somebody into a real maniac if they don't have somebody to say no and yes and all that stuff. Somebody put them in their place. So it's I think this is all part of the bigger picture of what we're talking about. People are treated differently if they have special skills that can either bring exposure. Like college is another example. You could have a guy get involved in something off the field that they're going to cover up because he's going to he's going to fill that house on the basketball court or on the football field, where another kid is just going to lose a scholarship and be gone if he gets in the same kind of trouble. It's just,
dude, in our business, I've worked coast to coast, San Diego, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and here. I can't tell you how many times I've seen main anchors, take a few days off.
Yep.
Take a couple days off. But a reporter in the field, week suspension, 2 week suspension, month suspension, it's all based on how you're perceived in the eyes of who you work for.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Now, Barrett always talks about how I would say things to certain bosses and get away with them. He goes, I've never heard anybody get away with what you, and it's true. And I must say that sometimes I push the envelope, but that's a little different, but it's still under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
I push an envelope to a certain degree and get away with saying certain things that are not degrading or offensive, but things that other people in that newsroom wouldn't say out of a fear factor.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I could tell you this from radio. Like I have seen other hosts show up in let's just say a condition where they weren't ready to go on the air.
I agree.
And just be, like you said, hey, send them home. Whereas if someone who was just sort of a part-timer or had just started with the station, had they pulled that, they would never work at that station again and maybe never work in the business again. But because those said people that I'm referencing were established money makers for the station.
Yep.
Oh, just let so-and-so go sleep it off. He'll be fine. She'll be fine. Whatever. It's just different. It's just different. But that's our world.
I think JM makes a great point here. Says social media has forced the NFL's hand in a lot of matters. I do think since everything is out there in the World Wide Web, I do think not just the NFL, but in a lot of cases, corporations, entertainers, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
I think bosses buckle basically to public opinion more so than ever before because of social media. I honestly believe that. And even marketing people, look at how many people when an athlete does something. Look at how many big time corporations will jump off. He's no longer. We no longer use him as a spokesman for our product. Boom! They don't want that backlash. I don't know if that would have happened in the past before Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
I agree. Social media has changed the game in a million different ways in the world and sports and everything. It really has. And most, I would say, for bad, but some for good, for sure.
I've gone on record time and time again saying I'm not a big fan of social media. And the only reason I use social media is because of what we do, and because of people that we work for. Hey, you got to get a Twitter account. You need an Instagram account. Why?
Yep.
I could care less about social media, in a lot of ways. Now, I will say this. I'm more active on Facebook than I ever will be on Twitter.
Facebook is, you can control it more because you control your friends to an extent. Sure. I will just tell you the general tenor of Facebook is more friendly. I'm not saying people can't be jerks on there, but it's more friendly. Whereas Twitter, there's a real undercurrent of nastiness where people just want to take shots.
I'm glad you said it like that. That's the best way to possibly say it. I think there's an evil undercurrent when you talk about Twitter.
Yep.
Because you have people coming out of the woodwork that have never followed you, don't know anything about, not just you, but I'm saying a situation or any individual, but yet they can't wait to jump in and spew venom. They just can't. They live for this. They're like Twitter predators. They just can't to jump in on any topic and spit on somebody,
Yeah.
And as the saying goes, let him without sin cast the first stone. Everybody makes mistakes, but all of a sudden, somebody else's mistakes, you can't wait to jump on. Now there's some issues that are really sensitive topics. I get that.
Yeah.
But in most cases, you see some handles out there in Twitter, they jump in on everything. Whether they have a definitive opinion or not, they just want to jump in and spit venom. I don't respond to it. You know, a lot of my friends don't respond to it. A lot of my friends who are in the media, who are professional athletes, who are corporate people, they don't respond to it. You know, let it run its course. Let it run its course, you know?
I think what happened, like, I'll give you an example. So as a show, we'll JAKIB, we'll tweet things out of what a guest said or what one of what we said or something like that, right?
Right.
And rather than taking the time to listen to the thought in its context, and I know writers go through this because somebody will read a headline and just blast a writer and be like, dude, can you read the story before you whatever? But the problem is, like, someone will see a little blurb and you know, then all of a sudden you're in this like chain of people just fighting with one another. And I'm like, oh my God. But and generally it's just taken completely out of context. Like basically we had both Kelsey and Brandon Graham on last week.
Yeah.
And both guys were like, look, we're not making excuses, man, for the turf and all this other stuff. But I think we put something out with BG saying, you know, just trust me. We were watching the film and Sweat slipped a couple times, whatever. And then all of a sudden it was like, here go the Eagles acting like the 49ers making excuses. That's absolutely not what he said. And
that's not what he said. But you know what? Comments are still coming in today. I'm looking at my Twitter feed today. Comments are now a lot of them are Kansas City fans all of a sudden speaking up.
Yep.
You know, they didn't listen to the whole interview, but because of that one quote that was put out there, it blew up on it.
Yep.
Now, does Brandon Graham care? Nope. Brandon Graham is still going to be Brandon Graham, no matter what. But it was taken out of context. You're right. There's a lot of us in the media. We say certain things. Unfortunately, the people who are hired to put these things out there don't have enough character space to put exactly what is said. So they put the headline out there. People don't do the research and go listen to him. They automatically jump in like wolves, like piranhas feeding on raw flesh, okay, and make a comment. And usually 9 times out of 10, the comment is negative.
All right.
See, I'm at a point now, I just sit there and chuckle. I do. You know, hey. But then here's the part that really is twisted. There are people that we know that put controversial statements out every day. You know why? Because they want the clicks. Because they want the people, because it makes them look better in the eyes of their employer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're hired to do.
Yes. Yep.
That's one of the biggest downfalls of who we are on this side of the ledger.
Agreed. I completely agree with you. So yeah, so look, and I know we're all over the place today, but that's okay. That's what we do. That's part of what we do. It's not just, we don't just have to X and O here. We can kind of get off on things and tangents, and it's fun. And we appreciate everybody's input on that as well. I want to hit you with this too. I was just thinking about this a little bit, Eagles wise. Who would you put in the category of under the radar in terms of the upcoming season, you know, going into this 23 season? Who would you like? I think Milton Williams is a guy that's like that. We had
a great one.
John McMullen and I had this discussion on Birds 365 today, and we were just it just sort of spurred, and I'm thinking, you know, Milton Williams has a chance to have a pretty good year. Now, naturally, we're focused on Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, and Fletcher's still here, so they're going to get all the shine. But he could be, you know, he could be a guy who has a really big impact here, and he's going to get more of an opportunity.
I agree 100%. I would also say Jack Stoll falls in that category.
Yes.
Jack Stoll is looked at more of a pass blocker, an afterthought pass blocker than a pass catcher. But if you look at some of the times that he's had a time to be in the passing offense, he's made some big catches.
Yeah, yes.
You know, he's not going to have big volume numbers, but he's a serviceable catcher. And I think he has a certain value to this organization. I mean, right now, this team doesn't have a definitive number 2 tight end. You know, when we started talking about running the 12 personnel, Jack Stoll is that guy. Mm-hmm. But I think he can be more than just a blocker. Cal Katera is another guy. He's more of a pass catcher, not an accomplished blocker. But I think both of those guys can expand certain elements of their game that are not prominent in their games right now and be under the radar, all of a sudden catch people off guard for certain attributes about their game. So those 3 guys come to mind first and foremost.
Yeah, and I think some of it spills into the whole, you know, special teams universe, you know, and who could be a contributor over there. like I don't think you're going to see Nakobe Dean on special teams this year. So somebody else is going to have to step up. Christian Ellis may get some time at linebacker. Maybe you don't see as much of him on special teams, although I think he'll start the year on special teams. So there could be guys that have opportunities. Like I think about Akili Ringo. You think about what kind of, how much of, like, I don't think Nolan Smith is under any kind of radar, but I do just wonder how much of a role he's going to play this year, because you think about it, you got Brandon Graham, you have Josh Sweat, you have Barnett coming back. There's some people that he's behind. So I wonder what, how much he, like, is he going to be in the role that say like Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean were in last year, where they were understudies and they got a little bit of time, but not a ton of time. Like Mr. Taz says, Landon Dickerson. I think he's on the radar now. He was Pro Bowl selection and all that kind of stuff. He's on the radar now. I get it because he's overshadowed with the big names on that offensive line, maybe a little bit, but
exactly.
Yeah.
I think Landon Dickerson is above that,
that
topic of discussion, no question about it. But the other three guys, I think, fall perfectly in that category.
Yeah.
They're role players who get sporadic moments and they shine occasionally in certain aspects, but with this team, the way it's constructed right now, there's no room for them to move in a more prominent role right now.
Yeah. Hey, Tone, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold the break here because I want to get Al up. And I know because he's squeezing us in here in between holes and whatnot. So let's switch gears here. We're going to talk some Flyers. And Al Morgani from 94 WIP is going to be joining us right now on NBC Sports, their coverage of the Flyers pre- and post-game. And, of course, Hockey Hall of Famer. What's going on, Al Morgani?
Not too much. Hey, what's up? They got the man that they wanted, and it was a weird day for me. I spent the afternoon. Somebody wanted to do a feature on the Flyers against the Russians, that game from a million years
76
ago.
from 7. Wow.
Yeah, it was really. I'm like, what? Why are you doing this? And then, of course, at night, the big dream comes through. They got a Russian player, so it was an interesting day for me.
Well, now, Al, so did his by the player we're referring to for people who might not be familiar. Is it Matt V. Michkov? Is that how you pronounce it?
Right.
I know you were high on him because you and I talked about this on our radio show a month and a half, I don't know, whatever it was, and you said watch out for this guy. Al, I saw value on him as either a 2 or a 3 overall, and the Flyers get him at 7. So is that strictly the not sure how quickly he can come over here and play? Why'd he drop a little?
Well, it's absolutely because of the whole situation, not just that, the whole Russian situation on what's going on. The Flyers goaltender had to go in the Army. That's so nobody quite knows. It's kind of a wild card. But he was the second most talented player in the draft. I mean, we have to rely on other people's eyes, scouts. The Flyers do have a scout on the ground over there, which certainly helps. But every metric with him is he's just a game breaker, which the Flyers haven't had for so long. Actually, if there's still a shootout when he does come over here, that'd be the guy you finally can't wait to see it when he would be involved in it. But it's still a bit of a risk. He wasn't even the first Russian to be taken. So I was flabbergasted on a number of levels. First, that he didn't go higher. Second, that Washington didn't do everything to try to get him with Ovechkin. And third, just that the Flyers got to talk to him a couple of times, which was, it doesn't sound like much, but when you're investing this much of your franchise into a player, you really want to look past some of the raw numbers and kind of peer into what makes him tick. And the fact that they got to meet him twice, once here, once in Nashville, was remarkable to me. The amount of work that they got done, homework that they did on this guy before. So it wasn't a wild swing for the fences. It was pretty well planned out.
So Al, we know he's under contract to Russia through 25-26. Is there any way he can get out from under that umbrella to get here sooner, or is it just an ironclad deal that he's stuck there until 26?
Gunnar, I don't know the answer to that because things change so quickly.
Yeah.
and it's so quirky. Because they so things change so quickly there. I suspect after listening to him at the draft, which was very interesting to me, how animated he was. Now, he's got a personality. He's not a robot coming over here. He's got some personality to him. He's got some ego to him. And the fact that he seems so determined to get over would lead me to believe if there's any, like people saying, well, it might be more than 3 years. I would venture to guess, if anything, it'll be less than 3. Things can happen. I don't know how they happen there, but I know that they happen there. And so I would be surprised if he didn't somehow wiggle out of this thing beforehand. I mean, rules change all the time there, and the way the geopolitical map is right now, you can't figure beyond 6 hours, never mind 3 years.
Interesting. Al, so I know his father just passed, sadly, in, I think, April or something like that. Did his dad play for that 76 Russian team?
I don't believe so. I don't think so, Rob.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I don't think so. If I recall that team, I don't remember that name on that team, but
okay.
I do think it was telling when he said that Flyers have a stature or whatever. I think, and it's funny because I had just done that thing on the Russian game. Their logo is still recognized because that event was so huge, and everything that's gone on over time was so blown like all over the world. It was like they were the Marines, the Flyers. And so I think that kind of, I really do think it was genuine that he wanted to play in a market like this, which is nice to hear with what they've gone through in the past. So I was really happy that they got him, and this is 2 years in a row, was the guy I wanted, so I'm a little worried about that. that it was somebody that I wanted. But I tell you, the only thing that bothers me now is this kind of this storyline going around. Well, what's the difference between what the Flyers are doing and what Hinkie did? And I don't find that at all. The Flyers didn't tank here. They played a season as hard as they could, and ended up with this guy. They got a break, which just happens in the draft. This is why when you say, "Oh, let's tank and we'll see," well, you don't know what's going to happen, and you end up with this. It's almost like a karma thing. And I know they're both going through a rebuild now. They're trying to draw a parallel. What's the difference between what Hinkie did and what Briere is doing? Well, there's a big difference. In the first place, letting Tortorella run this doesn't let a culture come in where no matter what happens, it's like, well, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. They're trying to do two things at once here: win on a nightly basis, but rebuild. It's a very difficult thing to express on what's happened, but this is a very, very strange situation where you have a coach that's virtually made several players untradeable, and they still managed to trade them. I mean, let's face it, John Tortorella didn't do management any favors by basically letting it be known Kevin Hayes can play here and D'Angelo can't play here. But they're letting him do it because they want something while they're going through this that doesn't let the ethos get away, that you have to play hard and you have to try to win games.
I'm glad you said that, Al, when you talk about Tortorella, because here's the way I see it. And you would know this a lot better than I would. We all know he rubs people the wrong way. He's an either-or guy. There's no gray area with this guy. But now that this team is finally admitted they're going in a new direction, a new evolving, so to speak, in terms of what we need to do to get back to respectability, I've said I think Tortorella is a perfect teacher in terms of getting his type of players in here, whether it's right or wrong, but getting a group of guys in here to teach him how he thinks the game should be played. Mental, physical toughness. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I agree. There'll come a time, though, when the younger players come in and, it probably will run its course, I would think. But in the meantime, he sounds like an assistant GM when he talks. And you're right. You want this thing, you want it set that you have to play that certain way. And they'll come. I mean, we've seen it happen. Hartnell didn't get along with them in Columbus and ended up, leaving. He just let it be known that if you're going to have me as a coach, this is what's going to happen. And they're already still paying Vigneault. They're paying him a lot of money, so he's not really going anywhere. I guess there are certain people, for a while, you have to put up with it because of the situation you're in, and it's going to help you get you out of that situation. Okay. If your kitchen is flooded and the plumber comes in and there's plumber's crack showing. You don't really care. You just want to get out of the water.
Fix the
right?
kitchen. Yes. Yes.
That's where you are.
Al, only you can work that into a plumber's crack reference. I love it. All right, so let's go second. I know it's great. Let's go second. Let's go with the kid they took 22. It's Radek Bach's son.
Yeah.
For people who are NHL fans, his dad played a long time. The son's name's Oliver. He's a defenseman, a righty defenseman. So righty shot. Was he on your radar, Al? Was he a guy that is highly sought after? I mean, where do you think he falls in?
I think this was the balance act, Rob. I think this was the balance. Like, he's a sure thing, kind of, maybe not that high ceiling, pretty good two-way player. Not a lot of sizzle to him. Probably going to be a serviceable NHL player, maybe a bigger ceiling than you thought. This year, they'll get to see him play some power play. And no small part of this, for those that aren't, I know a lot of people aren't familiar with coming up in a hockey junior or whatever, but playing for Dale Hunter's team in London, he develops an awful lot of players, an awful lot, and they play the right way. So if there was kind of a risky thing there with that first pick, this is a lot less risky, and it doesn't have that high end that some other defensemen might have shown. But I think that there's a comfortability that this is going to be a guy, because he's a son of a player, great demands on him, and demands on him in the program that he's in now, being sent down, coming back up. So I think he's a much safer thing. So it's like a bit risky and for a really skilled player up top. And then this one here, I'm thinking I'd be shocked if he doesn't have a very long, very solid NHL career.
So Al, a lot of people who have soured on the organization through recent years have said you got to get away from bringing in the former players. We got to get a new perspective. So what do is they continue to change. They bring in Briere, they bring in Jonesy, and they even bring in Patrick Sharp as a special assistant. And we haven't had you on since all these changes have been made. So I want give me your perspective on the direction they're going in terms of leadership now.
Well, I don't know why you would discount people that were here. I mean, you look around the league. Berube won a cup. Tockett's done pretty well for himself. You look around at guys that have come through this organization that have done very well. They went outside, and Fletcher, I don't think, had a great run here. I just think it was, and Danny Briere did his homework in other places. I don't think it was I don't think it's a mistake. I have a personal relationship with these people, so I know what they've done, and I see what Danny's done in his first trade. I think it would have been a mistake to discount, just to say, well, we're going to try to please the noises that we hear about this by going outside the organization. I know they looked outside the organization. I know they talked to a lot of people, but why would you not go with who you think is the best? And let's face it, Philly's a different market, and you have to know some, like with Keith, much as he can have some comical aspects, he's a pretty funny guy at times. He really knows hockey. And I look at that like, I imagine if Pat Croce had actually known basketball, not to tear down Pat or anything, but he was a salesman, right? Mm-hmm. But imagine that personality having a real background in the NBA. I think that's the combination you get with Jonesy. And Danny just, I think we saw through that first trade, his ability to work, the amount of work they put into that trade. And I think, Gunnar, I think when you look at the whole front office, the number of people, they have like 55 people down in Nashville. I think what you're seeing in all sports now is when you have a front office, you have to model it after what the Eagles have done. So in my opinion, from the distance, looking at the Eagles, the moves that they've made and how they've done it with a salary cap, you basically have to hire a bunch of GMs under your control that know the other teams. I would almost have like 30 GMs and say, you're the GM of this team, tell me your issues. Because that's what the Flyers have done in this couple of things here. They have to study other teams to be able to make the best deal, even in a draft for your team. And I think that's where a lot of this is going. I think the Eagles, frankly, are ahead of the curve. And now other franchises in other sports are following. It's like, okay, I would frankly say, okay, Gunnar, I'm hiring you. You're the general manager of whatever, Tennessee. and tell me every day what the hell's going on, and I might be able to take advantage of that.
That's fascinating, Al.
Right.
Al, who's next in terms of Sanheim? I know D'Angelo, there was a snag with the CBA. Like, who do you see going next? Where is this headed? And let me just follow it with one thing, because people ask me this all the time. Are they going to go straight youth movement, or do you keep the Couturiers and those guys around to teach the young kids how to go about their business?
Yeah, they've got to have some veterans. That's why I think Torrey Krug would have been a fit here. But I can see a veteran play. You're going to have to get a unique veteran player. You're probably going to have to get a guy that's won somewhere else, because you're not going to sell him. You're going to have a swing at the cup here at the end of your career. You're going to get the solid citizen types, a Stahl type, or whomever, to come in that's willing to work with the kids and be a model. That's why Couturier, Atkinson, I think it's important to have them around. That's why if Hayes had been a Tortorella kind of a guy, he would have been integral. But Tortorella didn't look at him that way, and it was like, well, we need to subtract. So I think the next one, D'Angelo, I'm disappointed that D'Angelo isn't going to be here. I sort of liked him a lot more than most people. I know he had weaknesses in his game, but I thought he needed to get a little bit better shape later in games. But I think he'll obviously be the one. And Sanheim, if they can get the right control, the problem is too many people know what they're trying to subtract.
Right. Right.
I mean, you can only manage to get, one. It's hard enough to get rid of one ex-spouse, never mind a bunch. And that's kind of that's sort of what's happened. So that's where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck marrying them off. Yeah.
My final question to you, Al, in all fairness and more importantly, all honesty, as we watch this new look Flyer regime evolve, how long do we have to give it before we can fairly critique it? Because, from a media standpoint and a fan standpoint in Philadelphia, the critiques are going to come down sooner rather than later. But in all fairness, now that they're moving in this direction, how long should we give it? Is it one season? Is it 2 seasons, or what?
I would think 2 seasons that you'd see something. Have we identified the people with Morgan Frost? Have we made the right decisions with these guys? No Cates, guys like that coach keeps raving about. What you don't want to see is what's happened with the Provorov, where that it falls behind. There'll be a couple of steps, but you don't need a whole class, falling out of step. And I think that's where you see. So I would think within 2 years. I think the fascinating part, we'll see how long will Tortorella continue in this style of coaching, which I think, like you, I agree with it right now. But if you're going to get a Gauthier in here, get him out of BC, there, it's different. There's a different cat. You're dealing with younger skilled guys here. We'll see what happens. He's done that before, so that'll be my curiosity. I'm hoping that after this year, kid leaves BC, comes in, and I would think at that point you should see a jump. And I'm presuming the goaltender stays here.
All right, that's the last one for me. Al, they grabbed a couple of goalies, I think, and Cole Knuble, who's Mike Knuble's son. They drafted him as well today, which is, you want to feel old. Jeez. Everything right now is on hold with Carter Hart, right? Because there's still pending investigations about some of the stuff that went down with
the World
Canada,
Junior
right?
Team 2018. Yeah, that whole team is under. That's why none of them can play in a World Champ. Can't play for the Crest, the Maple Leafs.
Yep.
The Canadian, not the Toronto.
Yeah.
But that's I look, I'm a big fan of the kid. I hope he doesn't leave here. And I think if you're looking at this timetable, he's young enough to be part of that when they get better to move forward. So they'll have options in goal. I mean, they've got a bunch of them coming up. You just never know with goaltenders. I'm presuming that he's going to stay here. And I don't know another team. It's such a wild card on if you're going to give up something. You never really get much trading a goalie anyway. It's a weird animal. You overpay in free agency, but never get enough when you make a trade.
That's fine. All right, last one that people are wondering with the hat. Sweden hockey, is that what that is?
This is a Sweden hockey hat. Yeah, it was just playing golf here. I have to do a thing with somebody from college, and they got a Swedish player, so I thought with a Swedish hat.
So Al snuck us in. He snuck off the course to do this, so we appreciate it. Al Gunner, you want to say something else?
How's the game going so far? How's the golf game?
No, I am not. I don't play well in the daytime, Gunner. It's
in the daytime?
He's strictly a night guy. Yeah. That makes sense.
And do you need to go play Top Golf at Ocean?
That's right. That's right. Al, you're the best, man. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. I'll see you on Sunday.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah. All right. He's unbelievable.
Oh
my God. The plumber's crack reference was getting rid of the ex-spouses. Yeah, that's Al. That's Al, man.
Classic.
Oh my God. I'll be working with him on Sunday at 10 o'clock down at the ballpark on WIP. I can't wait. All right. We're a little behind. So what we'll do is we'll sneak one in here, and then we'll talk a little Phillies, and then we'll get into our NFL stuff at 2 o'clock. So let's get a quickie in here. I'm going to tell you right now about Pro Action Restoration. Yeah, Pro Action Restoration, the place that you reach out to if your home, your business, a property you own goes through the pain and inconvenience of water, fire, smoke, mold damage. They're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. You have a problem at night, you have a problem on a holiday, you have a problem on the weekend, reach out to them. I did. I called them on a Saturday, and they got right out to my parents' house. They cleaned it up. Crew was professional. The price was right. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So again, whether it's water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn. We just wrapped things up with Al Morgani. If you missed any of that, you can always go to jakibsports.com or JAKIB Sports YouTube channel to check out our interviews, portions of the show, etc. All right, so we there you go. You can also email us, sportstakejAKIB@gmail.com. You all right, Gunner?
Yeah. Hey, look, since my wife just left, she had to go to a meeting. Now I can confess the reason I'm loving being in her office right now. See, her office sits like right above where the AC unit is in the basement and stuff, and this is like one of the 2 coldest rooms. So when I walked in here, man, it was like Antarctica. So she had to know it. But if you can see behind me over here, that space heater over here, it's been on. It's been on since we started this show. This room is a nice, comfortable 77 degrees right now.
Oh my God! You have a space heater on June 29th rocking in the room. You're unbelievable.
Even if she's listening in her car while she's driving, sometimes she'll put us on while she's in her car driving. She can't get me now. She can yell at me when she gets home. She can't get me right now though.
You are one of a kind, man. You are special. I got to tell you.
No goosebumps, nothing, man. I've got short sleeves. I come here wearing a hoodie.
I hear you.
Yeah, but now
I respect it. Look, my basement, but the studio basement is freezing. It's always, that's why I always have long sleeves on. Yeah, it's cold. It's cold.
Tone says the things that excite Gunner never ceases to amaze me.
It's true. It's true.
I'm a simple man in life.
It doesn't take much. Yeah, just a good space heater and a grill, and that's all you need.
And a fishing rod and a lake. That's all I care about.
That's it. All right, let's sneak in a little bit of Phillies here. They win last night, 8-5 over the Cubs. They lead the series 2-0. The series finale's tonight. You have Taijuan Walker on the hill tonight. They won 3 straight overall, 17 of 22, and they are 17-7 in June. Couple good things last night. Nick Castellanos continues. Just an excellent season. 2 for 5 last night, had a home run, had a double, had 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored. He's now up to 314 on the season, batting average, 10 home runs. Boy, I mean, what a great year he's had. And he is a lock, or at least should be, to make that all-star team.
See, I'm so glad you finally got on the Castellanos bandwagon, unlike me who never got on the Gannon bandwagon. I'm so glad you finally jumped on.
Hey, I give credit where credit's due. I do. I give credit where credit's due. He deserves it.
You know what? Though? Yeah, he has had a phenomenal season. There's no question he should be an all-star this summer.
Yeah.
There's no question. But you know how that goes. But you're right. This team is doing what it's supposed to do. You're beating up on teams that you have to beat up on, because that last 6 games, we can't emphasize that enough. That last 6-game stretch is really a telling tale as you get ready to take that all-star break and regroup for the stretch run.
Yeah.
Between now and that next series against Washington, I'm going to be on you. If you don't go at least 5-1, I've got issues. I got issues with you. At least 5.
You get the Nats next, and then it's the Rays and the Marlins. So you got to take advantage of this portion here, this little stretch. So far they are.
You can't go 2-1 or 3-0 against Chicago and then turn around and go 1-2 against the Nets. You can't.
No, especially coming back here too. Now there's a lot of good that, the not so good. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good either. Nola goes 5 innings.
Yes.
7 hits, 4 runs, 2 more home runs allowed.
Yep.
And he was coming off a good outing the last time, which, when the bullpen gave it up. Derek, you can't get 2-3 consistent good starts out of this guy.
What did I say yesterday?
Yeah.
When you asked me, what do you think we're going to get from Nola last night? I said, Rob, I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. He's only had 1 outing this year, 1 where he hasn't given up a home run.
Yeah, it was the last one. It was the one before this one. Yep.
Yes. 1 outing, and you're the ace of the staff?
Yeah. Well, we know that's not the case anymore.
Well,
he might be the 3. I agree. I'm going Wheeler and Suarez ahead of him now.
I agree. And you know what? It may be Walker pretty soon.
Yeah.
I may put Walker in front of him.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't know what's going on with him. And it's the same MO last night. He's pitching well. He's dealing. All of a sudden, 1 inning. It's always 1 inning with this dude. Whether it's the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, it doesn't make a difference. It's always 1 inning with this guy this season. He didn't do that before. Why is it happening to him this year?
I know. I don't know. Is it a lack of concentration? Is it still one of these things where if he gets men on base with the pitch clock that he's thrown off? I don't know. None of that accounts for the amount of home runs, too. I mean, it's at a crazy rate, the home runs he's giving up. So,
and then on top of that, he threw 97 pitches in 5 innings against the Cubs.
I know the pitch count was way jacked up.
Come on,
man. I'm telling you, it ain't good. It's going to bite him if he doesn't get it together either late in the season. Because here's the problem, Derek. And by the way, they've also won 8 straight on the road. They've been becoming a much better road team. But the problem you have is Atlanta and Miami just keep winning.
They keep winning. Yes.
So you can't make any ground up here, and San Francisco lost last night, but they're another team that never loses. If they're part of who you're chasing in the wild card. So you almost have to keep this crazy pace up right now, partly because you dug yourself a little bit of a hole, and partly because these teams are really good that you're chasing.
Well, right now they're 4 games behind Miami, so they do have a chance to close the gap on Miami.
Yeah.
The last series coming up next week.
Yep.
But the way Miami's playing right now, and you got to play them down there.
I know.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Miami is not this juggernaut scoring team, but they play the Phillies tough.
They do.
Their pitching staff. Alcantara is not even the primary. He's 3-6.
Yeah, he's been a huge disappointment. Actually, everybody else picked it up for him. Yeah, exactly. I know.
So these young arms, all these trades they've made, and all these different things they've done over the last 3-4 years is now starting to pay off for them again. I don't understand how the fan base puts up with this, and I've talked about this so many times.
They don't, because they don't show up there. They don't.
You're right. Yeah, but when they start winning, what? If they get in the postseason, all of a sudden the stadium's full. Where do these fans come from all of a sudden?
Yeah, I know. They love the Marlins. But good thing is Taijuan Walker tonight, he goes into this game 5-1 with a 1.71 ERA and a 0.98 WHIP in his last 7 starts. He has turned it on, man. Between him and Suarez, woo.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
If you can learn other facets of your staff, that's what you need. So, we as of right now, we know for certainty that we have 3 starting pitchers that are going to give you quality outings.
Yeah.
Even when Wheeler's off a little bit, still he keeps you in a game.
Yes,
it's not like he implodes. Nola implodes in 1 inning. It's always 1 inning with that guy. Mm-hmm. They may get to Wheeler at some point, but you're still going to be very much in the game. So now we just got to figure out the number 4, number 5 spots.
I know.
And keep that bullpen rolling, man. So.
All right. Well, let's get a timeout. Let's come back. Let's talk some NFL. So we got a couple things in store for you, NFL wise. First, which QB has the most pressure on them this year?
Ooh.
It's an interesting thought because you have guys like Russell Wilson, but you also have guys who just signed some big contracts. Jalen Hurts.
Ooh.
You have Deshaun Watson. So we'll get into that. And we're also going to continue the greatest series. 49ers today, man. There's a lot. There are a lot. So we'll do that when we come back. A bunch of other stuff also. JJ Watt made a decision on which network he's going to go to. So we'll let you know where that is. And we'll hit all of it when we return. So don't go anywhere. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Flynn Tree Services. Yes, Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They're experts at trimming all types of trees, and they serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Keep in mind, we got decent weather, at least right now, in terms of no real heavy rain or wind at this point in time. Go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. And you get that, you go out there and get that estimate right now, get your trees evaluated. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
All right, we're back. Appreciate you hanging with us. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. All right, let's talk a little NFL, D-Gunn. J.J. Watt, who was a highly sought-after retired player, hung it up last year after a Hall of Fame career, will be going to CBS. He's going to do studio work for them. He actually messed up his first announcement. Did you see this? Yeah, he had a CBS hat on, and he made the wrong announcement, and then he sent it back out saying, "Pro tip: when you're accepting a new job, you might want to get the name of the company right when you put out a post." So he had a little fun with it, but yeah, it's off to a flying start. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm interested in saying, what does this say? James Harden has to decide to. Oh, geez, okay, that's all. Anyway, but he's J.J. Watt. He can make all the mistakes he wants.
Right.
And he's not going to be polished. He's not going to be polished, I don't think, right out the gate, whatever they have him doing. But because he's J.J. Watt, people are going to watch because of the name factor.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't he say he didn't want to do it full time? He's not committed to full time.
Yeah, I think what they're gonna do is work. I don't know exactly what this schedule is going to be, but he's going to do studio stuff with them, and I don't know that it's going to be every week. But yeah, he's not doing games at least right now.
Okay,
so he'll be in there with who's their crew, Boomer Esiason and all those guys, Cower. He'll be with those guys.
I would imagine though, if you're going to hire him, you want him in the studio every week with you.
I would. I'm sure. Yeah.
Seriously? I mean, that messes up the continuity, especially if he has something interesting to say, if he's colorful off the cuff.
Yeah.
You want him in there weekly. Once you set a team, a studio team, you want the consistency of the team. I'll pick and choose when I decide I want to be. What?
Yeah. I guess when you have that kind of leverage, you could do whatever you want. Whatever you want. I don't know.
I can't wait to see what they're paying him for him to be a part-time employee. I can't wait to see this one.
Yeah, I hear you. But he'll be good. I think about certain guys like Kelsey is going to be able to write his own ticket when he's done. Both of them, whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Oh, no question about it.
For sure.
I think Jason would be more inclined to, if he decides media is for him, to be more local, more so than national.
Yes.
Whereas Travis, to me, he wants to be on a national platform somewhere.
I agree with you. I think it's dead on. All right. So Let's dig into a couple things here, Derek. I teased the quarterback thing.
Yep.
Before we went to break. So, the question is, which quarterback has the, it's inherent that you have pressure on you if you're an NFL quarterback, no matter what. But some are built a little different than others. Let's start with Russell Wilson. So he goes over in the major trade from Seattle to Denver last year, and it's a total disaster. Team stinks, and coach doesn't make the whole year. Russell Wilson's numbers are all down across the board. People questioning him. There was all this stuff about his trainer and his own quarterback coach, whatever. Sean Payton comes in, says, we're getting back to basics. We're not doing any of this stuff. And, he's got a great track record, obviously, with guys like Drew Brees, et cetera. If he's not first, he's darn near first on my list to guys who have a lot of pressure on them after everything that's gone down.
Well, I have 6 total quarterbacks on my list, but he's definitely number one because he's not put in a rebuilding situation. They have everything that you need to win right now. All Russell has to do is get his act together. You have an offensive guru now in Sean Payton. You have all the weapons you need at running back, offensive line, wide receiver. You have a defense, a solid defense to support you. This is on you, Russell. We have been a big fan of yours from afar, and I mean just football fans in general, have been a big fan of yours because of your wow factor season in and season out in big games, your ability to buy time, spin out of trouble, deliver throwing the football on a dime across your body to your strong side, floating passes over the top of defenders into the bucket of your receivers. We need to see that Russell Wilson again. You didn't have the coach to bring that out of you in your first year in Denver. Denver gave up a whole lot to get you there because they felt you were the missing piece to get them to the Super Bowl. So this is on you right now. And so you have the coach, you have everything you need, pass catchers. The only thing that you can have as a built-in excuse is if you have an epidemic of injuries across the board. That's right. It. Outside of that, it's on you.
I agree with you. I think that's a big factor in it. So, another guy I'm going to throw in there is, and if you just look at his numbers, they're still pretty darn good, but Josh Allen's got a lot of pressure on him because his team needs to get over the hump. He needs to not turn the ball over in the red zone. There's all this weird stuff with Stephon Diggs. Some people say he's got with Allen. Some people say it's not about Allen. Allen's going over the top, praising him and all that. I think Josh Allen's got a lot of heat on him, Derek.
I do too. I think more of the heat is on Sean McDermott, even though McDermott just got himself an extension. I still can't believe that one. Mm-hmm. But if there's 1 and 1A, Josh Allen is 1A. Now, granted, he had a built-in excuse that his mentor left and took a head coaching job with the New York Giants, but you are still considered one of the elite in the game, and you have to come out from under that. If you look at his numbers from 21 to 22, he had less attempts in 22. His completion percentage in 21 and 22 is exactly the same, 63.3%. He threw for 100-something yards less. In both cases, he threw well over 4,200 yards. In terms of touchdowns and interceptions, this is crazy. In 21, he threw 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Right. 22, 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
That's what I mean by that. It's not that different, really. But you have to the way a lot of it played out is what's different.
Yes. So there was more to the equation than just the quarterback not carrying the team that extra mile. When you look at other aspects, they lost Von Miller. They lost one of the premier edge rushers in the game, and that sorely affected their defense. But because you are the face of the organization, you carry the brunt of the burden on your shoulder. And he knows it. And he said it this offseason. I have to be much better than I was in 22. Okay, so that's where it starts. You said the right things. Now we expect you to go out and do all the right things.
Yeah, I think the other thing you have to take into account too, they had the whole Damar Hamlin thing too. That took an emotional toll in a lot of ways.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So that's a factor in this thing. All right, so other guys I would throw in there.
I'll throw this one at you.
Yeah,
Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, this is probably his last shot at being a starter, either there or anywhere. And he's trying to stave off 2 guys. He's got Will Levis and Malik Willis, both, kind of nipping at his heels.
If there was ever a guy who needs to understand that the organization is indirectly telling you they are looking for your replacement in the worst way, is this guy. They spent a 3rd-round pick in 21 on Malik Willis. They come back and spend a 2nd-round pick on Levis in 22. You are definitely on notice. I don't know any other way to put it. And when you look at his numbers across the board, now granted, he only played in 12 games last year, got injured. But prior to that, his best season, you have to go back to 2020 to see his best season. He had 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Since then, he dropped in 21 touchdowns, 14 picks. And then, of course, he only played in 12 games in 22, but he only threw 13 touchdown passes.
Yep.
So the organization is telling you, you're 34 years old now. Father Time is knocking at your door. We have to get younger in a hurry while we still have a chance of being a playoff conversation piece, like right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, another guy I would throw in there, Derek. Did we lose Derek? All right, I don't know. I think Derek, if you can hear me, you're frozen. You guys are still seeing me, correct? All right. So Tone, why don't you square me up on a 1? All right, there you go. Thank you. We'll try and get Derek straightened out. You guys work on Derek, and we'll try and get that straightened out. So I'll throw another one in there, another name into the ring here. How about Deshaun Watson? He signs the monster deal last year. Controversial trade, controversy all over the place with him. We all know what happened. He was suspended for 11 games. He comes back. The team really had no chance. It was kind of a mess. Any way you look at it, it wasn't going to work out for Cleveland last year, right? But okay, so now he's back. And if you look at what he did prior to the sort of self-imposed, sitting out a year, which he did because he wanted to get out of Houston, but Houston couldn't really trade him because of all the stuff surrounding him, whatever. But if you look at his career numbers in Houston with some teams that maybe weren't necessarily great, pretty good. You go back to the last year that he really was a starter before the sit-out year, which was 2020, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 70 completion percentage, all darn good. Over 4,800 yards passing. Not bad. The year before, he's 26-12. Over 3,800 yards. The year before that, over 4,100 yards, 26-9. I mean, this guy is a darn good player. The problem is, it's a new it's a new team, and the good thing is he had a little bit of time to play last year and get acclimated to the system. But still, there's going to be a lot expected. You signed a $232 million guaranteed deal with the expectations that he had following last year. I mean, look, there's a lot there to that, and he's got to show up. And if he doesn't, look, he's not in trouble because his money's guaranteed, but Kevin Stefanski's in trouble. The organization is going to catch all kinds of heat for making the trade with him, for setting up the contract the way that they did, for him. I would say he's 100% that guy who's got crazy pressure on him. Beyond that, other guys that do. Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets and said he basically called a shot before he even got traded. He left what was a pretty good thing for him for a really long time in Green Bay. We'll see if the grass is greener for him. Like, he goes over there with a lot of talent. Garrett Wilson showed you last year, even without great quarterback play as a rookie, what he was all about. He's got a really good running back in Breece Hall, who's coming off an ACL. They're a talented defense, and they're in a position where, especially with Saleh, where I think they need to win this year. But if he wants to kind of pull a Brady, right, and go to a different organization and win it like Brady did with Tampa, well, we're going to find out what Aaron Rodgers made. Look, he's a prima donna. He's a guy that you tolerate a lot of stuff from because of his ability. But that only goes so far. And I think he's got maybe one more year on his deal after this. So you can be that guy, you can be that prima donna, but you better deliver. And he's got to step up here for the Jets. So I would definitely put him on the list. Let's go Lamar Jackson. There was a lot of questions about what went down last year. Was he really hurt? Did he just not want to play? And, we know the whole back and forth with the organization. It looked like at one point he was going to be out of there and he wasn't going to be a Raven, but they come to an agreement and he signs on the dotted line for a lot of money. And, based on that, he's got to go out and play well. And the other problem is, too, he's missed a lot of time. And the question now is, can his style hold up? Can his style, where he's putting his body at risk, I think a lot more than even Jalen Hurts is, or Justin Fields. I think he would fall in the category where we're going to have to see how this goes as his career goes on. But nonetheless, can Lamar hold up, and can the Ravens get back to that promised land that they were, where they got with Joe Flacco? Because I wouldn't sit here and tell you that John Harbaugh's in trouble or anything like that, but eventually you do need to win another Super Bowl, and it's been a while for the Ravens. So Lamar Jackson with the new deal now, okay, you wanted to get paid like a big boy. Let's see what you got here. I'm going to throw another one in there, and this isn't his fault necessarily, but how about Tua? It's going to be a matter of showing that you can stay on the field, and I just worry that, if you were dealing with a leg or a shoulder or a back, even, something like that, you get the off season, you heal up, and, some of it is just bad luck, misfortune, you get rolled up on, whatever. The problem when you're talking about head injuries like that is you're either bound to get hit sort of head on or a glancing blow, or the bigger problem is having your head slammed to the turf, right? I mean, that's bound to happen. And considering the amount of head injuries that he's had in a short period of time, can he hold up? I don't know. I mean, that team is good and they're effective offensively with him and the way that Mike McDaniel has coached them. But without them, and they did a nice job of getting pretty good backups with Mike White and Skylar Thompson. So they went the smart route with him, getting quality backups in place. But still, I mean, their playoff hopes, or like at least a deep playoff run, go out the window if he goes down. And keep in mind, they're in a division with the Jets and the Patriots and the Bills. It's a very hard division, so he's gonna have to bring his A game. How about Justin Herbert? Justin Herbert is in line for one of those massive Jalen Hurts extensions. So is Joe Burrow, but let's deal with Herbert. You watch him play at times and you're blown away. He's big, he's strong, he throws a pretty ball, all those kind of things. But, ultimately, whether it's his fault or not, we know how quarterbacks get the blame if their teams don't win. And his team hasn't gone deep. I think it's more of a coaching thing. I'm not a big Brandon Staley fan than it is his fault. But, either way, you're rightly or wrongly, fair or not, you're going to be judged by how your team does. And he's in a position now with, some talent for sure, some talent on the offensive side. When you have Eckler and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, when you have those kind of players, much is expected. I think his offensive line, that was an issue last year. His left tackle got hurt, Rashawn Slater. Other pieces there just aren't, maybe pulling their weight or getting the job done. But, Herbert, it's a big deal. It's a very big season for him, for sure. I'll go Sam Howell. Let me go with the youngster. If Sam Howell doesn't come out of the chute playing well in regular season games, considering he wasn't a super high draft pick, they're not going to be as patient to stay with him as you are with guys who were taken in the first round. And you have so much more of a financial investment made in them. If he plays poorly, if he starts off slowly, you could very well see Jacoby Brissett, because they're not in some big, rebuild kind of mode in Washington. They're looking to try to win right now. So that's he's another guy. And every receiver to a man, I'll give them credit. Every receiver to a man has had his back, and they're trying to get him, trying to give him all the confidence in the world and get him going here. So I would throw Sam Howell in there too, also. So, the other one that I would talk about here beyond Sam Howell that I would look at is Justin Fields. Let's show folks that you're a passer. We know you rushed for over 1,100 yards last year, and a lot of times you were running for your life, and it wasn't his fault, okay? It was not his fault. Bad offensive line, lack of weapons, all those kind of things. But now that you have DJ Moore and you have some other guys, some other weapons on that side of the ball, we need to see you be more of a complete player. It's not to say all of a sudden there's pressure on the Bears to be a playoff team. It's not that at all. They're not going to be a playoff team. They're not that good, frankly. But with the weapons that he has, there has to be more of the complete package that you see out of him. I actually like him. I don't think that he's just a runner. If you watched him in college, he wasn't what you would call a scrambler. He didn't come into the NFL with the reputation of being a guy who just took off. That wasn't who he was. I think he did that a lot out of necessity and showed you crazy athleticism. But this is the year where the staff around him and him, they need to show it a little bit, and they need to get it together in the passing attack. So he would be one that I would throw in there. And then I'll go kind of generic here with the 49ers. Is it Purdy? Probably. But if it's not Purdy, it's Trey Lance and or Sam Darnold if things really go sideways or injuries kick in. All those guys represent their own special kind of pressure. Darnold is trying to show you that he's a guy who belongs to the league, maybe potentially, is deserving of being a starter. He's failed in 2 spots so far, whether it was him or just bad teams, whatever. Then you go to Trey Lance. They traded up to get you. They took you super high. And right now, the leader in the clubhouse is a guy who was the very last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. So you have a lot to show too. And he's coming off an injury. And then you go to Purdy. Purdy, I don't want to say he snuck up on people because he played very, very well. And Shanahan did a nice job playing to his strengths and all those kind of things. But now it's not just the, oh, wow, who's that guy? No, teams are ready and waiting for you at this point. So, and he's coming off an injury, which is a difficult thing. So he's going to have to do a good job on this and really deliver for them. Others that I would throw in there. Let's not overlook Jalen Hurts. When you sign that kind of contract and you get your team to the Super Bowl and you're a runner-up MVP, there's pressure. Now, I think he will handle it perfectly. I don't think it's going to affect his game. I think, anything that's happened this offseason or the accolades that are thrown his way, he is not a rat poison guy, as he always will tell you. Nick Saban said there's 2 forms of rat poison. One is people kissing your rear end, and the other is people trying to rip you down. And I don't think he sways too far either way. I think he'll use some criticism as fuel, as motivation. But I think that as far as the complimentary stuff, I think he puts that aside and just goes to work. But there is pressure on him. I mean, he's surrounded by a really good offensive line, 2,000-yard receivers, Dallas Goedert, good running attack, a good team. There's pressure there. Chuck says, what about Goff? Yeah, I can't argue with Goff. I mean, he had a really good year last year. And I think most people, I did too, wrote him off when he came over from the Rams. And it was sort of like, oh, man, he's in Detroit. That's where quarterbacks go to die. And it wasn't quite great the first year with, not just with him, but the entire team. And then the second year, when the team started to ascend and take off, so did he. And he played great. He really did. He played excellent for him. He's got a sneaky, nice little cadre of receivers and running backs there. Yes, the Jameson Williams thing hurts them with the suspension, but nonetheless, still pretty darn good talent around him. So yeah, he would be another guy I would throw into that category. How about Dak Prescott? When you throw the amount of interceptions and pick sixes that he threw last year, and your team that was 12-5, again, fails to get to the Super Bowl or even an NFC Championship game, and you play for the Cowboys, you have a lot of pressure on you. Last year, 23 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, that is not acceptable. It's really not. And he's got to be better, Dak Prescott. There is no doubt. He has got to be better than what he was last year because there's a lot riding on him. And they add another weapon in Brandon Cooks, and they add another weapon in Derek Gunn, and look what's happening. So he's back. What's up? Hi.
Dude, I have no idea what happened here. I mean, everything just went boom. And then all of a sudden, my daughter and my son, what happened to the Wi-Fi? I had to go reset everything.
Oh, man.
And the thing is, I just upgraded everything through I shouldn't say Xfinity, but I want to say it. I've just upgraded all my modems and everything like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a fickle thing, man. It really is. It's sometimes, yeah, you just don't know. When you're at the mercy of technology, it can be it can be tough.
I got the high speed everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like I give up.
I hear you. No, I got you. Don't give up. We got you. I think I ran through everybody. The one last one I would throw in there is Joe Burrow. He got to a Super Bowl relatively young in his career. He's coming up on, time for him to get paid, just like Herbert. They're in that same draft class as Jalen. So, there's definitely pressure on him. And he's got a three-headed attack at the receiver spot, which is really good. Arguably the best three receivers total with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. That's a really good threesome. And he's got a good they've done their best to improve the offensive line around him. So, he's got pressure on him because he's also in that very difficult AFC.
Yeah, I think Burrow is at the bottom of that pressure list because early in his tenure, he got to Super Bowl, got to an AFC championship. He's got all the pieces back. I'm not saying there's no pressure. The pressure's not on him. But in terms of quarterbacks with more high volume pressure, I would put him down lower on that list.
Yeah.
Who are some of the names you went through already?
So I ran through Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Tua, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Sam Howell, Justin Fields, 49ers quarterbacks, and Jalen Hurts.
Okay. All right. So I still have 3 on this list that you didn't mention.
Sure. Go ahead.
I would start with Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield's in a bad situation. He's got 2 good pass catchers, but offensive line is suspect. The running game is suspect. Mm-hmm. And he went from this first-round draft pick now to basically being called a journeyman. So this might be his last go-round in terms of being a legitimate starter. Now, he's in an adverse situation. If he can come out of this smelling like a rose, whether he stays in Tampa and parlays that into a decent long-term deal, there's another team out there down the road that will want his services.
Mm-hmm.
I put Derek Carr in a pressure cooker because the Saints are another team that have everything that you want except the quarterback. Well, now you have the quarterback. And what he hasn't been able to do with the Raiders for years, which is get deeper into the playoffs, now he's got to prove that he can do that with this New Orleans team in a division that's very winnable, and you are loaded with weapons at your disposal to put up impressive numbers. You should easily be in the way they like to throw the ball down in New Orleans. You should easily be in the top 10 in passing yards this upcoming season. And then the other one I put in there has to be Geno Smith. Geno Smith came from out of nowhere and led this team to a winning record. Everybody's talking about Geno Smith. Geno Smith completed 70% of his passes this past season. Parlayed that into a nice little contract for himself. Well, not only did he have 2 of the premier wide receivers in the game, they go out in the first round and add a third one for him to give him even more weapons. So the fact that you did so well, you finally got that backup monkey off your back to where the organization is invested in you to be a starter. They've given you another potential great weapon to go along with already 2 great weapons. They've spent money on this defense. You've got to help us find a way to knock the 49ers off that pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are 3 quarterbacks also that have a tremendous amount of pressure on them this upcoming season.
Would you say that's the toughest position in sports?
Quarterback?
Yeah.
Oh.
His goalie, I don't know how it's an ace pitcher, maybe. I don't know. I would say it's the most pressure-packed and most difficult position in sports. I would
be hard-pressed to disagree with you. A pitcher only has the ball in his hand so many starter X amount of days, a reliever X amount of throws. A goalie, even if he takes 30, 35 shots, a lot of the action is not just constant. When a quarterback steps under center, he touches the ball. When that ball snaps, He's always the second one to touch the ball from the center to the quarterback. He's the one that generates the success or failure in many aspects. Now, if you have a bad offensive line, obviously your passing game is going to suffer because you're running for your life. But for the most part, you step to the line of scrimmage. You have to know what you're seeing across the line of scrimmage. You have to make the audibles. You have to have certain eye contact and little movements that you develop with your receiving core. All right, you generate the flow. Yes, I would agree with you. Yeah, I would say quarterback is the toughest position in sports. Yeah.
All right, let's do continue our greatest series, Derek Gunn. And today we're doing the San Francisco 49ers. So you take first crack, my friend.
I think, when we started this series, every time we talk about a team, we always say, I think we can agree that so-and-so is the GOAT of that organization.
Yep.
And here you can have a dual argument, but I've thought about this long and hard for a few hours. And I would have to say, when you talk about the GOAT of the 49ers organization, you have to start with Jerry Rice. In terms of what Jerry Rice has done for that organization, comes out of this little Mississippi Valley state. People weren't expecting Jerry Rice to become what he became as a receiver in the National Football League. All he did was emerge as the all-time leading receiver in catches, yards, receiving touchdowns. What else can you say about the guy? He's a 13-time Pro Bowler, 10-time first-team All-Pro. Work ethic second to none. His runs up and down the hill out in the Bay Area is legendary. Takes players up and down the hill with him. I think, for my money, Jerry Rice is the GOAT of the 49ers organization.
Yeah, I you know what? I went back and forth on this one.
Yep.
I'm going to go Montana simply because of the position. It's simply because of the position. And it's weird because I think Jerry's the greatest receiver that's ever played without question. And I think you can make an argument that Montana might be number 2 now behind Brady in terms of quarterback. But I'm going to go with Montana for this reason, Derek. 4-0 in Super Bowls as a quarterback. One of those is without Jerry. 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 127.8 passer rating in Super Bowls.
Absolutely.
Nobody did it better in the biggest spots than Montana. I mean, look, they had 2 Super Bowls where they blew the team out, but they had 2 that were close. And one in particular, the last one that he won, where he had to take them all the way down the field at the end and the throw to John Taylor. So I'm going Montana ahead, just slightly ahead of Rice. And it's simply a position thing in that, again, back to where we just had discussion we were having. I think the quarterback thing is more important than the receiver thing. And it's taking nothing away from Jerry Rice. Had 197 touchdowns in his career.
Yes.
It's insanity.
Yes.
So I'm going to go Montana, then Rice for my discussion.
Joe Montana ran Bill Walsh's West Coast offense to perfection. He also had 32 come from behind wins in his career as well. He didn't have the strongest up. Joe Montana made the dink and dunk quarterback famous.
Fashionable, yeah.
He was the master of dinking and dunking down the field before there was a Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go wrong either way. I went back and forth between Montana and Rice, and I decided on Rice. You decided on Montana. We can debate that from now until the cows come home, and I don't think either one of us is wrong, but those two are at the forefront of what the 49ers organization stood for.
All right, I'm curious. I know we're not necessarily ranking these, but if I was going 3, maybe I'm biased because it was like my lifetime, but I went Ronnie Lott. I think Ronnie Lott was just that guy. All right.
Anybody who cuts a finger off
to stay in a game,
Well, not only that, because as the story goes, when he decided that he needed surgery on his finger for making a tackle, the doctors told him in the offseason that if they tried to do a graft, the graft may not take for him to be ready for the next season.
Right.
So this was like a long, arduous process. So he said, cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said. Just cut it off. They're like, huh? Just cut it off. Any man tells you to cut off a piece of one of his digits, that's what you call true grit. John Wayne was in the movie True Grit. Ronnie Lott is the true grit of pro football. There's no question about it. You look at what he stood for. You know, he started out as a cornerback his first 3 years in the National Football League before he moved to safety. And wow, did the 49ers make the right decision when they moved him to safety? Hard hitting, could cover, highly intelligent on the back end of that defense. There's no question. We agree to disagree on number one. You know, you had number one. You had a number one out of number one. Right up under that umbrella, definitely Ronnie Lott checks in as number 3. No question.
All right, where would you go next?
I knew you were going to say that. Where would I go next? Let me see here. All
right, I went Steve Young. Did you?
Yes, I just want
I debated T.O. I debated Charles Haley, a couple other guys. I love Roger Craig. You know, I thought about Dwight Clark. But Steve Young, there was always the Montana comparison and all that. And the guy was so dynamic with his arm and his legs.
He sat on the once they made the trade for him, he had to sit on the bench for 4 years.
Yeah,
before he assumed the role of a. Now, over the time frame where he played in 10 games, while Montana was still entrenched as the franchise quarterback, in a span of 10 games, he accounted for. Now, this is by way of passing and running. He accounted for. Where's that number I just pulled up? I was like, what? 27 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions in a span of 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you remember, also. The first couple of years, he was at the helm of the offense because everybody unfairly compared him to Montana. His playoff experiences were brutal.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden, that third season, it clicked for him. And I remember, I believe it was the Super Bowl, when they won that Super Bowl against the Chargers 49-26.
Yeah.
When the game was decided, you see him on the sideline and he's doing this.
Yeah.
With the monkey's finally off his back. You know.
Yeah.
But Steve Young was a great quarterback in the National Football League, and he was a great, wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't a big guy.
No,
but he was an accurate passer, and he could run. When he had to take off and run, he could run. But yes, Steve Young, I have to put up there in the top 5, no question.
Okay. Like I said, the other guys, I think Roger Craig was such a good all-around player that he belongs in any kind of top 10. I think Charles Haley was just an absolute force. You know, Barrett used to always tell us he was one of the toughest guys he had to deal with. And he was a little crazy, you know, mixed in.
Plus, he won Super Bowls, 2 in San Fran, 3 in Dallas.
That's right. And I'll tell you, Bryant Young was an awesome player.
No
question. The guy had 89.5 sacks in his career.
No question. You go back to Roger Craig, you know, he was the first player ever to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in a season.
Yeah.
And he was the one that made it famous, the high leg kick when you ran.
He was fun to watch.
He's so high. I used to love watching him. And they always tell you when you're a running back, because I played running back, you know, you got to get low, get your body leverage. He ran upright and high, just like an Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson ran up high, you know.
Eddie George kind of ran that way.
Yes, you know.
Yeah.
When you're a big body like an Eric Dickerson or an Eddie George, that's a little different. Roger Craig was a well put together dude, but he was not like Eddie George big, you know.
Yeah.
But Roger Craig was a beast for a long time for that organization. And you know what? You're right. Charles Haley had 100 sacks in his career. He started his career as an outside linebacker before he was moved to a defensive end because they went from a 3-4 to a 4-3.
Yeah.
But Barrett is right. Charles Haley, throughout his career, was one of the most difficult edge rushers to deal with in the National Football League. There's no question about it. You know, we always talk about quarterbacks who win 4 Super Bowl rings. Brady, 7 Super Bowl rings. Charles Haley won 5.
Yeah, all he did was win. He was kind of, it felt like he was sort of on that like Dion track where he would go, it would be like Dallas, San Francisco. He's going to win it here. He's going to jump there. And, you know, look, he was great wherever he went. I mean, there are other guys you could throw in there. Dwight Clark did a lot to sort of bridge the bad 49er teams into the new era, had the catch. You know, he's a guy you think about for sure.
With Dwight Clark, as much as I loved him as an athlete and a tight end, he will always be remembered for the catch more so than his body of work.
Yep.
He only played 9 seasons in the National Football League. You look at his numbers, are not wow factor numbers. 506 catches, 67, 50 yards, 48 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Decent numbers, but they're not wow numbers when you stack them against the likes of a Tony Gonzalez, Travis Kelce, so on and so forth. He was a solid player, but he he's more remembered for that one moment in time than he is than his overall body of work.
There's a lot of old school guys too that I feel bad I left out. I didn't have the same knowledge of them that I do the younger guys.
I put Patrick Willis on there.
Oh,
Patrick Willis in his first 7 seasons, he started his career with 7 consecutive Pro Bowls and 6 consecutive All Pros.
Wow.
That's
awesome.
What do you want from this guy? If it wasn't for the fact that he had this severe toe injury, no telling what kind of numbers he could have put up in his career. But here's another guy, career cut short because of this chronic toe injury that he had. He just got tired of having surgeries on it. I don't even think it was a turf toe. It was something a little bit more in detail than just a turf toe. Mm-hmm. And he just got tired of it and walked away from the game.
Yeah, I think longevity hurts him a little bit, but I also think people think he played like 3 years or something. No, he played much longer than that.
Yes.
And he was great. You're right. He was a great player. There's going to be some people would throw Frank Gore in there. Gore did it for a super long time there.
I did. Yeah.
And that deserves some love. It's funny. When I was looking through this, because he came up the other day with the Giants. You could make a case for Y.A. Tittle. He played there 10 years.
There you go.
And had some good years.
Joe Staley was one of the best offensive tackles to play in the National Football League. You talk about he's one of the first ones that really got noticed as a big man, 6'6", 300 pounds, who was athletic and nimble, quick, strong, all rolled into one. Now it's become commonplace, all these tackles, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", who are athletic, faster, strong, nimble, But Joe Staley set the bar high for offensive tackles in the NFL.
I agree with John Dickerson. Another guy I looked at is Randy Cross. He was there a long time as their center. Just the building block off of that whole thing, man. He was really good.
Terrell Owens, you have to put him on the list, but you look at his career, which was tainted so much by his off the field antics, disagreements with coaches and teammates. And Terrell Owens was a phenomenal,
great player.
Talent. Yeah. He was a phenomenal talent in San Francisco.
No doubt. I mean, there's no denying it. I mean, he's a top 5 receiver that's ever played, and most of his years were in San Fran. Philly was only a year and a half, and then he was just kind of like Dallas and Buffalo and Cincinnati, but his prime years were with the Niners. So you could definitely make a case that he's in their top 10.
Just to show you what kind of exceptional athlete he was, his 15th and final year in the NFL was with Cincinnati. He had 72 catches, 983 yards, 9 touchdowns, and he averaged 13.7 yards a catch. That's all you need to know about Terrell Owens, whether you liked him or not, because of all the negative stuff we saw and heard about him. Terrell Owens is a heck of an athlete.
He is. Yeah, he is. He was big and strong and could break a tackle, but also fly past you, run a precise route. Came back from the broken ankle in that Super Bowl. It was just crazy.
121 yards receiving in that Super Bowl game. Jeez.
Amazing. All right, let's get a timeout in, Gunner, and we'll roll into the final segment. We got a bunch of stuff. We didn't really get to the NBA free agency.
Hopefully I'll be back.
I hear you. Birthdays, movies, we got it all for you. Don't go anywhere. He's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Razor Technology, because the future of work is not remote or in person. It's a hybrid model. In facing this new reality, businesses must reimagine their workplaces to align with preferences and needs of modern employees. Razor Technology helps businesses create a workplace that gives their teams flexibility in choosing how and where they put in their hours. Online platforms for communication and collaboration, combined with secure and adaptable mobile devices, are enabling hybrid meeting experiences that are nearly on par with in-person events, so everyone can feel like they're part of the conversation. Employees with strong social connections with their team report better well-being, higher productivity, and stronger retention rates. Razor Technology helps growing organizations adapt to hybrid environments with industry-leading digital tools and insightful guidance that promotes efficiency and workplace satisfaction. Learn more by calling 866-797-3282, 866-797-3282, or visit them online at razor-tech.com. That's razor-tech.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
All right, we're all here. That's all that matters. Present. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis, Sports Take.
I'm here for now.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. All right, so NBA free agency, Derek, is tomorrow at 6 p.m. And you know, James Harden's got to make a call one way or the other. You would think it's going to come down relatively soon. Most of the big name people have declared, you know, what they're doing. Here comes the Kyrie Irving hype train. So apparently he's going to make a visit to Phoenix to talk to the Suns. We're going to start hearing all that kind of stuff leaked. Just get ready because it's coming. Make no mistake. But that's you know, that's just one of the names that's out there. Nikola Vucevic got a 3-year, $60 million extension yesterday from the Bulls. The Clippers aren't guaranteeing the rest of Eric Gordon's deal. You know, there's just all kinds of stuff kind of floating around right now at this point in time. So we'll see. I mean, Harden is sort of the big piece that everybody's waiting on at this point. I think this plays out. He opts out. It's a question of it's going to be 2 or 3 years. That's really what it comes down to for me.
So everybody else is making decisions. He's going to draw this out until the nth degree.
Yep.
I mean, why?
I don't know.
Just be done with this, man. What I mean, there's nothing else to think about. You've had plenty of time to think about the pros and cons. You've talked to people close to you to help make this decision. You've talked to your legal and sports representation to help make you the decision. Why are you dragging the drama out? You know, because probably more fans than not in the Philadelphia area are going to be disappointed if you find out that the Eagles are going to sign him for anything more than 2 years. They're not going to be a lot of fans happy you signed him for 2 years, especially if you're paying them $45, $50 million.
Yeah. No, it ain't gonna go over well. I can tell you that. Beyond that, you see the Jake Paul, the whatever he was turned boxer now.
YouTube sensation.
Yeah, he started up a betting company, a sports betting company called BetR, like BETR.
Yep.
He raised $35 million in funding, and now it's worth more than $300 million. This dude knows how to make money.
All you gotta do is nowadays, especially with YouTube and all these things out there, and you got to do is have an angle, have a click, and lo and behold, I mean, this dude. People used to say, okay, he was a nice storyline watching him on YouTube, and then of course he gets the shot to fight. Who was it? Floyd Mayweather, I believe it was.
Yeah.
He fight Floyd. Okay, and that just basically took off, and now look at where he is now.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake Paul, who is he?
I don't know.
35 million, and now a company is worth 300 million before you even hardly launch it.
I don't get the appeal.
Rob,
Yeah.
you and I need to sit down and brainstorm, collaborate, and come up with something. All we need is to get clicks and hits on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, and we're set. We write our own ticket, bro.
I know. I hear you. All right, you want to do some birthdays?
Why not?
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, we'll start. Kawhi Leonard, 32 years old today is Kawhi.
Yep.
Nicole Scherzinger. She was on with the Mask or whatever it's called. I don't know. The Masked Singer. She's 45 years old. Camila Mendez, actress, is 29 years old today. Colin Yost is the Saturday Night Live cast member who does the news updates.
And he does a lot of writing for the show also.
He does. Yeah, he's married to Scarlett Johansson.
Yep. He's married to her?
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Melora Hardin is 56 years old today, actress.
All right.
Gary Busey, who's a different character. He's a different cat. He's 79 years old today, Gary Busey. He is out there, man. The old actor Slim Pickens, born on this day, 1919.
Good old country Southern twang.
Oh, yeah. All the Westerns back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Lewis is 76 years old today, actor, comedian actor. Been around a long time. He's 76. Lily Rabe is 41 today, actress. Joe Johnson, former NBA player. He is 42 today, out of Arkansas. Martin Truex, the racer, 43 today. The old producer, Robert Evans, who produced a lot of different things, including The Godfather.
Rosemary's Baby. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, he was a big player, big time player back in the day. Fred Grandy, you're saying, who's Fred Grandy? Do you remember Fred Grandy?
Absolutely. In a Love Boat? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. Colin Hay, who was the lead singer of Men at Work, is 70 today. And by the way, Fred Grandy was Gopher from
That's right.
For people who are like, which one was he? He was Gopher. All right. Any other birthdays that you have?
Yeah, you got Ian Pace, who was the drummer, and he's the last original member of Deep Purple, 75. Clementine Ford from Showtime show The L Word and The Young and the Restless, and she's also the daughter of Sybil Shepherd.
Oh, nice.
She's 44 today. Sam Hubbard, defensive end for the Bengals. Do you remember his claim to fame?
He had that 99-yard fumble strip return. Right?
Just earlier this year. Yep. And the deciding touchdown.
Good
against
player.
The Ravens.
Yep.
28 years old.
Yep.
Former stock car racer. Did you say Jeff Burton?
No.
Jeff Burton, former stock car racer, is 56. You did say Martin Truex.
Yes.
Kathleen Wilhoit, who was on Murphy's Law and LA Law plus ER, is 59 today.
Okay.
The great Harmon Killebrew was born on this day in 1936.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Nuggets forward Michael Porter Jr. is 25 today.
Okay.
Craig Sager, we lost you too soon.
Yeah.
Was born on this day in 1951. Sharon Lawrence from NYPD Blue is 62 today.
Yep.
Brett McKenzie of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies, 47. And one of my favorite actresses, Maria Conchita Alonso, who was I first saw her in The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Great movie.
Yes, she was in Moscow on the Hudson, Extreme Prejudice, Predator 2.
Yep.
She is 66 today.
Okay. All right, good ones. All right, movies, real quick. My favorite Eddie Murphy movie is the original Coming to America. That's my favorite. Now, I know he's done a ton of great ones, but that is my all-time favorite. But that came out today in 1988, so I had to put that one first. Ted with Mark Wahlberg and the bear, 2012. Bad Moms 2016, Uncle Drew 2018, Magic Mike 2012, Ratatouille 2007.
Wait, didn't you tell me Magic Mike was one of your all-time favorite
That's
movies?
my all-time favorite. That's my favorite movie ever. Yeah, it surpassed Rocky. Yep.
I thought this was
Watch it all the time on a loop. Yeah. What else do you have?
One of my favorite movies is Sicario, Dale the Soldado. You ever watch the Sicario movies?
No.
Oh, dude, if you love, this is like one of those the cartel type movies.
Oh, I love those. They're right up my alley.
You've got to watch the first one and before you watch the second one.
Okay.
And they're still debating on whether or not a third one is coming out. They can't seem to get all the pieces together. But you've got to watch Sicario. I promise you, you will absolutely love Sicario 1 and 2.
I like it. Okay.
AI, artificial intelligence, came out in 2001. Medea's Witness Protection, 2012. And one of my all-time favorite stupid movies came out in 2001. Pootie Tang.
I like it. I like it. All right, we got to run. I want to thank Tone DeShields. Tone, great job as always. Want to thank all of you.
Tone.
Yeah. Want to thank all of you in the chat section. Awesome job, guys. Everybody streaming, everybody listening. We do appreciate it. All right, Gunnar and I will be back tomorrow. Same place, same time. Don't go anywhere. You got the National Football Show with Ancilio coming your way right after us. So everybody have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you Friday. We are Sports Take. Tell a friend.
Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.